I just realized I was muted. Hello, everyone. Hump Day on Oh So Curious for DCU Daily. Here we are. We're about to have a pretty good, albeit a little bit short, hopefully short DCU Daily. Not a lot of news today, but we'll probably, stretch that time as much as we can. But welcome, everyone. Welcome to the show. We are going to start off as we usually do, with a box office report. We have a couple things in regards to Brand New Day. I almost said No Way Home. Brand New Day, Odyssey, and a couple others in regards to box office currently, as well as future box office stuff, as well as some Avengers Doomsday news in regards to Namor and Sue. Well, yes and no, but we'll get into that. And then in regards to, we have a couple other things in regards to DCU Daily, mainly about Endgame Encore. Apparently it might seem a bit more different than we originally thought. And then quite a bit of movie talk madness in regards to not filmmaker Ridley Scott, but influencer Ridley Scott. So we're going to be talking about that because his Dog Star movie might not be the adaptation that we need, nor do we deserve. And then a little bit in regards to the upcoming James Bond film directed by Denis Villeneuve. And then a little bit of Biz of Hollywood after that, our quick hits. Then we get into DCU Daily. We have a little bit in regards to Lanterns, a little bit in regards to Batman Part 2. But a big thing in regards to Man of Tomorrow, apparently, we were a little bit wrong in regards to Man of Tomorrow ending filming. Somebody mentioned it a couple days ago. We're like, no, it has more time, but apparently not as much time as we thought. However, it also is more than we thought, and we'll get into that when we talk about it. So, of course, all of that and more. Let's get into the show and showing off the wonderful nature of Knuff and how John Cena and The Rock really need to kiss at this point.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always number two.
All right, mister, I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding. You're kidding. I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne.
I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see Cole's.
Right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the needs now?
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, wow! Wow!
Hello. Welcome to the show, ladies and gents. I am your host, John. Dan will be here soon enough, but I am here to talk to the chat. Remember, guys, vote for Fancast Friday, even though it probably doesn't need any help, and we probably already know what it's going to be in the coming days. Still, go vote. If you really don't want MCU Mystique winning, then by all means, go vote, but that's probably going to be the winner. Spoiler alert. Monique with a delicious dinner. I didn't have much today. I just had a sandwich. But air fried steaks and mashed potatoes. Classic meal. And then Terrence welcoming everyone to the chat. Dan is here right next to me. Hello. Dan,
Hello.
How are you doing
I
with
am
everything going on? Not the best past 2 days, but we're getting through it.
Yeah, no, I mean it's another, yeah, like you said, they come in bunches. I don't know, like what the saying
They come
is.
in
It's just,
threes, I think, is what it is.
yeah,
So, we'll see how it goes. Because as you all probably know already, the great Tim Curry, one of the greatest, theater actors and just all around just outlandish, I guess you could say, is true in regard, but in like the most highest complimentary sense of the word, has passed away at the same age as Dolly Parton. Both were 80 years old. Um, and yeah, this was definitely felt like, usually it's a 1-2 punch. I mean, I guess this is a 1-2 punch because Hayden Panettiere was last week, while this was literally, day after each other, with, a legend like Dolly Parton and then another legend like Tim Curry, quite literally, because he was in the film Legend, with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
And we'll get into Ridley Scott later, but yeah, this one was definitely, it was just like I hate to sound mean, but I just feel kind of numb to it all, or I'm just like okay with the fact that like the people that we love, the people that we care about, the people that we look up to are going to die eventually. Like every single person that is living on earth is going to die eventually. So I've just kind of become numb to it all, unfortunately, but not to say I'm still sad. I was kind of a bit of a downer opening, but you know, I just yeah, this one sucks. This one really
It
sucks. Like it's just
hurts.
like that's
It's
only all I can really say at this point.
yeah. I mean, you said they come in threes. Yeah, Hayden Panettiere, Dolly Parton, and now Tim Curry, and it's yeah. I saw that and I was like, oh my god! Like, and it just and Fiona sent me the link because she saw the same news. She was like, "Oh no, Tim!" Like, and of course, for her, like, it's Rocky Horror Picture Show,
Yeah.
and I mean, for me, I always go back to the Home Alone 2. You got Clue. I mean, there's obviously so many
I
other
mean, the
things that
one that
he had a
like my first
decorated
introduction
career.
to Tim Curry, although I didn't know it at the time, was definitely Wild Thornberries. That was
Yeah,
my I think that was a lot of kids my age, a little bit older. His first introduction to Tim Curry was through that show. Um and he just, like, but obviously so much more prolific than that. Not just voices, but just kind of everything like he really just ran the gamut of, like, he was a true renaissance man. He did theater, he did film, he did TV. He even released apparently some albums, like actual like music albums.
I've never heard of
So
that. Now I'm gonna go look for that.
but
That's okay.
obviously Dr. Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror Picture Show, you already mentioned it, that was his biggest, claim to fame um, in terms of, film, because he was a
Yeah,
prolific theater actor before then. I mean, he was in Rocky Horror Show, as in the original theater show, before he, went into film, and then as the years went on, he became just everything he was in. It's just like he was just a man in a class all by himself, but in a in the best way possible. um Even after suffering his stroke about 14 years ago at this point, I think it was 2012, where
yeah,
he had that stroke, he was still absolutely kicking. Like, yeah, he
yeah,
might have been stuck in a wheelchair, he might have not been able to move very much, but
yeah,
he was still, he's like, I'm not gonna let this fucking bullshit to my body ruin me in any way, shape, or form. Very much like kind of the Michael J. Fox attitude of like, I'm not
yeah,
letting this thing fucking define who I am. I'm just gonna keep on trucking. And he kept on trucking for almost 20 years after the fact. So good on him.
yeah,
I think we all, admire that confidence and perseverance in terms of the human spirit. Um, so, yes, I was gonna make that joke, but you beat me to it, Geek Ledger. Geek Ledger. He finally went to the one place not corrupted by capitalism, space. Like, oh my god, it just, I saw that joke a bunch, and I'm like, all right, I gotta throw my hat into the ring. But yeah, oh my god, like, it's just so memeable, so great. Just no matter what, I think, yeah, Wild Thornberries and definitely Home Alone 2 are probably my biggest ones. It's just Yeah, it just I just, we lost a bunch of people from Home Alone 2 because we lost Catherine
Yeah.
O'Hara earlier this
Catherine
year.
has somebody else was saying that like the Home Alone franchise has lost a number of its
Yeah, John Hurd, although
big
John
actors.
Hurd's a fucking
John-
piece of shit, so frankly, he can burn in hell for all I care. But now Tim Curry. Now we just need that cameo who was in Home Alone 2. Now we just need him to kick the bucket and we'll be all set, but that would be a good thing. But yeah, it's just and the pigeon lady was the other one.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, I was forgetting the name.
Unfortunately, but we lost her a couple months back. So yeah, I just think God, very much a strangely cursed franchise. But yeah, it's just a shame. Just, yeah, I mean the Red Alert was fucking insane.
Hey Jalen. Yeah, and Steven and Geekla, everybody in the chat, thank you for tuning in. Just it's tough news also, just back-to-back days. I mean, I think people are still sort of
reeling.
Not sort of, they are mourning and reeling from the passing of Dolly Parton, an absolute legend and cultural icon. And I'm sure Jalen, you meant the other guy, but like Tim Curry, yeah, it's he had a legendary career spread across several decades of acting, and it's like I feel like in some ways you could have called him a character actor, but like you said, he was a Renaissance man.
He's so much more than I
that.
mean, he kind of had the career of a character actor, but like it was so much more than that because he was just so legendary.
Absolutely. Like he transcended that, like that stigma, as it were, because I mean, like a lot of actors could, once you get pigeonholed in that, it's hard to kind of step out of that, niche or that pigeonhole.
Well, we were saying it comes in threes, and we already lost 3 in the past 2 weeks. So let's hope like the Grim Reaper has his fill, and then we can all move on a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, this shot right here from Home Alone 2 is, again, this is the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of Tim Curry.
Yeah, it's just like
he literally looks like the Grinch.
I remember when I was a kid, I always it always looks like he's like pissing himself here. He's just like, ooh, that relief.
Yeah.
But again, you can kind of see a little bit in this shot with the eyes. He kind of does what Bill Skarsgård does when he does Pennywise, ironically enough. Even though when he did Pennywise, he didn't do like the eye thing.
Yeah.
But he's like kind of doing it here a little bit, and I don't know, I just found that to be interesting.
No, you're right. I mean, it's also he's got the facial expression.
I mean, I will say I did watch the It miniseries recently. I think I watched it for last October for Halloween, and I was surprised with how much I liked it. I wasn't expecting anything great. It's like shitty little miniseries. No like Stephen King miniseries are really all that great. I mean, a couple are, but I liked that more than I thought. There's like even some things in that miniseries that I think it does better than the movies. But yeah, I will say I do prefer Bill Skarsgård, yes, but like he definitely, his Pennywise was definitely, something something fierce, more funny than scary, but like it's still, it still gave like an entire generation and a phobia of clowns just because of that. So
no, you're not wrong. I mean, also like he was an award-winning actor. I mean, he didn't win an Oscar like Steve was asking, but he did win a daytime Emmy for Peter Pan and the Pirates in 1990 to 1991. And then he won a prime. He actually, yeah, World We've great reference. He did get nominated for a Primetime Emmy for Tales from the Crypt, but didn't win that in 1994. He got 3 Best Actor nominees on Broadway for Amadeus, my favorite year.
That's definitely worthy of a $10 one, I will say.
Thank you for that super chat, Justin. Thank you for all the super chats, Justin Geeky Guy. Hey God, remember when you said you wanted the Home Alone 2 cast member who wears makeup and acts like a clown? Hell yes. Where is he, Grim Reaper? Where is he? He says, here's Tim Curry. God, you're fired. Yes. Well, if you believe in that sort of thing, then I'm sure that's that person's in a lot of trouble. But Yeah, the Three Musketeers. There you go. I mean, it's again, there's so many. The fact that a lot of us have so many different touch points goes to show you how many iconic roles he had across his career. Very few actors, are able to have a career that decorated, and again, just the goodwill from the fans, and like you said, he had a lot of health struggles for the last couple of decades of his now life. From the stroke to again just being bound to a wheelchair. That's obviously it for anybody, like anybody who was able-bodied, that feels like that's going to be something that can limit you. But like that famous poem that they adapted into, well, as part of Interstellar, where Michael Caine's character recites it, the whole don't go silently into the good night, rage against the dying of the light. And I think Tim Curry was a perfect example of that. And yeah, we will miss him. It's yeah, it's a little, it's shocking because I mean, again, he was 80 years old, so he did live a long life again, but by any standards, if we all, I think like Dolly Parton cut too short. And I mean, these two are the ones that we're talking about. There've been a number of other passings, this week with publicists and producers and stuff, other people that have been very consequential in Hollywood behind the scenes. And while we don't really spend a lot of time talking about them, I think I'm just gonna use a second here to mention that those are also folks who obviously have made a huge difference in our lives. Because like with actors and with celebrities, here's the thing: a lot of us don't know them personally, may have never met them in person, and they will probably never remember us, but we remember them because when we watch movies and TV shows, our mind kind of perceives it like we bring them into our home, and to us, the way our brains think about it is they become like people that we know, and so to us they're as real to us as our actual friends and family. And when you are somebody who has had as many iconic roles that are so endearing and remembered as Tim Curry, then yeah, it feels like you lost somebody who was a part of your life, who was a part of your extended family, as it were. So and you can see here obviously the tributes pouring in from all across Hollywood: Carol Burnett, Michael McKean, Luke Evans, so many thank yous, and inspiring generations of actors to be a little braver. And he was a brave man. He was also somebody, again, another friend and advocate of the LGBTQ community, with Dolly Parton yesterday, Tim Curry today, and yeah, so everybody's feeling this loss. Yeah, he was the voice of Glorious Godfrey in Young Justice. Like you said, John, voice acting was a big part of his career, especially in the latter years, and then also, of course, a lot of the screen acting roles that we will forever remember him for from Rocky Horror Show to Rocky Horror Picture Show. You got Home Alone 2, so many more that if we just went through the list. But yeah, it hurts, and we will we will keep them in our mind. Yeah. Did I say no? I did not say that. Just some key guy. But I will say, look, Fiona texted me earlier. She was like, I'm gonna watch Rocky Horror Picture Show in his memory. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna watch Home Alone 2 in his memory. It's like, say I love. Get on one knee and say I love you. He's like, I love you. Say it like you mean it. I love you. And it's like, or like with the gun, he pulls up the clips and is like, God, there's a lunatic in the room. The situation's under control, and they're just like crawling out the hotel.
There's an insane guest with a gun.
It's so, yeah, Home Alone 2 is one of those rare sequels that actually lives up to the original and improves on it in some ways. And he was obviously a big part of that movie. So, and as many other things. So, yeah, we wish our absolute best and condolences in this time to the friends and family and everybody else who loved and will miss Tim Curry as he moves on to the great beyond. And with that, we have a couple of other things I wanted to kind of touch upon with Dolly Parton's passing away, because remember, Liz mentioned yesterday, Miley Cyrus must have been like her goddaughter. Dolly Parton's goddaughter was probably so I don't know, like I don't know what the word would be, like just heartbroken, I guess you could say. She didn't even really post anything till today, but we do have what Miley Cyrus posted. Again, Dolly Parton, I mean, you talk about influences on somebody's career. Miley Cyrus was definitely like, I think if there was one influence in her career more so than any other, even more so than maybe her own dad, probably was and is Dolly Parton. And so Dolly Parton's her goddaughter Miley Cyrus honored her godmother by posting a message today saying, "I have an angel by my side. I always have." And yeah, I mean, it's the tributes keep coming in. Taylor Swift paid a tribute to Dolly Parton, saying she was true grace and true grit, all in one dazzling person. I know they didn't bring it up yesterday, and I don't want to get political, but you know, the flags in America will be flying at half staff for a week, and you know, I guess that's another thing. I remember when Dolly Parton made cameos in Hannah Montana back in the day. That was, as somebody who didn't grow up in the U.S. like until a certain age, like I think one of my early touch points with Dolly Parton was Hannah Montana, and then knowing like the behind the scenes of like, oh yeah, she's the godmother to Miley Cyrus, and then of course Billy Ray Cyrus is also, you know, her father. So it was that show was very much a in the family kind of a thing. So yeah, again, hopefully Miley Cyrus and the rest of the friends and family of Dolly Parton can find some peace in this time of mourning, because it's definitely something that people are still reeling back from, and we've been talking about it since yesterday and probably will be for some time to come. Now, speaking of Dolly Parton, she was known as one of the kindest and most generous people out there, John. I initially kept this for a quick hit, but then I thought it just would make sense to kind of add it here with Miley Cyrus's statement. Great story. So do you want to walk through this, or do you want me to just kind of go through it? Because I mean,
whatever you want to do. I mean, let's not spend too much time on
why don't you like talk, because this is from, I think, the Grammys a while back. 2006, or the Oscars. Never mind. Yeah.
So apparently the late Dolly Parton congratulated 3 6 Mafia after they beat her for Best Original Song at the Oscars in 2006. 3 6 Mafia was the first hip-hop group to win an Academy Award. Parton told the rappers that she was glad that someone from Tennessee took home the trophy. So,
well, because 3 6 Mafia, I believe, are from Memphis, and there's always been like this Memphis Nashville rivalry. And Dolly Parton, they were like, we're not gonna beat Dolly Parton, like. And then, you know, they won for It's Hard Out Here for a Pimp, Best Original Song, and then I mean, I think they performed that year, and it was a lot of, I forget who was the host for the Oscars that year. I think they mentioned that in this article. It was just, it was one of those, you know, iconic Oscar song performances. And then later on, they talked about how Dolly sent them a letter being quite gracious. I think we have the statement in this article, John. If you scroll, it's not a very long message, but basically, she congratulated, you know, 3 6 Mafia, being like, hey, look, I know that, because there is, like I said, this Nashville Memphis rivalry in Tennessee. They're like, look, we are happy for you guys, simply because, you know, somebody from Nashville or somebody from Tennessee got the Oscar. So and again, just being grateful even in defeat, which not that Dolly Parton, you know, hadn't already won and went on to win more, you know, accolades, many of them. So I mean, there is a lot in common too between Memphis and Nashville. That's also true. I mean, music, I mean, obviously,
but it's also like, at the same time, it is nice how
culture,
you know, she did that. Plus, like, at the end of the day, this is gonna sound mean, who the fuck remembers 3 6 Mafia and who remembers Dolly Parton? Like,
no, I know, but again, just being generous in the moment rather than we have seen, I mean, again, it happens not always, but like every once in a while you see like just not being gracious in defeat, because people are, I mean, and I get it, a lot of times like actors and other people in the industry, behind the scenes folks, directors, writers, they're ambitious to get to where you get to be able to have even a nomination to your name at the Oscars, no less actually, you know, winning one. There you put a lot of that's basically the culmination of your career. You put a lot of time and effort into getting there, and so if you don't win, then I understand and then, you know, sometimes it comes across, but for then again, you have a lot of people who tend to be gracious in those moments where they're like, you know what, I'm just happy to be here, and we'll go again, because like the Oscars, like most voting processes, the Oscars voting process obviously is not perfect. It is a human voting process, so maybe not the absolute best, you know, option in every category wins every year, but that's why you know, you just got to make sure that, you know, you're doing good work for the sake of doing or creating good work, and then if you win an Oscar along the way, then that's great. So, I mean, again, Dolly Parton just being very gracious, and these are the kind of memories that I think we'll keep hearing more of as the week goes on. So we'll leave that there for now, John. Let's switch over to our usual, you know, our regularly scheduled programming, I guess is the best way to say it. Let's talk about the box office report, because it's a Wednesday night, and the Thursday basically marks the beginning of a new weekend at the box office, essentially. As you get previews for the new movies for the week, and then we go from there into, of course, what's likely going to be another very impressive summer weekend at the box office, because we start off with talking about the biggest movie in the world still and continuing to be Spider-Man Brand New Day. John, according to global box office, is tracking to be the #1 movie worldwide, including, of course, that means domestically as well as internationally, for the 5th weekend in a row. According to current projections, it's set to add another 23 to 26 million in North America and another 45 to 50 million overseas. You add all that up, you're looking at probably another close to 80 million on the high end this weekend, which will make it the 3rd biggest movie of all time at the box office. I actually did some research on this. Let me see if I can if you want to switch to my share screen for a moment. I just wanted to kind of highlight what that, like, let's contextualize what that means, because obviously 3rd biggest of all time, that alone is very impressive. But in terms of where it is now, it's currently sitting in, I believe, 6th place total, and it's got 5 movies ahead of it. You've got 2 at the very top, Avengers Endgame and Avatar. Obviously those are the 2 highest grossing, and Endgame is going to probably add another couple of $100 million in a few weeks time. But right above Brand New Day, you currently have Avatar: The Way of Water with actually I should start with Titanic, which is right above it, 2.26 billion, then Ne Zha 2 with 2.7 billion, and Avatar: The Way of Water with 2.33 billion. Now, the fact that Spider-Man Brand New Day in just this one weekend is gonna hop, skip, and jump and swing past Titanic, Ne Zha 2, and Avatar: The Way of Water to then go from being the 6th highest grossing to the 3rd highest grossing of all time. You look at the numbers, that basically tells you it's gonna have made more than $2.33 billion by the time we get to Monday. It's currently sitting at around 2.24, I believe, the last I checked. So it's just a little bit behind Titanic, but this weekend is gonna push it all the way to being right behind Avengers Endgame. Now it's gonna get to probably like 2.3 to 2.4, and that means that it's still gonna have another 400 million to go to Avengers Endgame. And like I said, Avengers Endgame is getting a re-release in a few weeks, so that will likely bring Avengers Endgame. I have a feeling Avengers Endgame is on its way to $3 billion. So, and then of course, whenever we get the next Avatar re-release, Avatar is going to join the $3 billion club. My question to you would be this, John. Do you think there's still a chance Spider-Man Brand New Day could just, in its original run without re-releases, actually catch both of those movies that are at the very top and even maybe get to 3 billion? Or do you think that's a bridge too far?
I don't know. I've been saying, like, I think it could get there, but now and no signs of slowing down in the sun. But honestly,
yeah, Worldview, you're not wrong about Doomsday pre-sales. We've talked about that before. But yeah,
it's definitely, I could see it. I could see it now getting close to 3, but maybe not surpassing Avatar, and I could see it passing Endgame, in all honesty, but I don't know about Avatar.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, though, right? There's the caveat is, even if it passes Endgame will probably pass it right back, because with the re-release numbers being added in, which, quite frankly, I mean, I feel like the fact they're going to add new footage into that movie should be counted as its own thing, but that's not usually how things play out. So, like, Avengers Endgame is likely going to, like, if you look at the pre-sales for just Avengers Endgame Encore, that's probably going to make more money than any re-releases ever made. Like, could be well over 100 million. So I think right now the projections are that Spider-Man will probably top out at probably 2.6 to 2.7 billion. So you're not off the mark there, Worldweeb, but I'm willing to bet that it can go higher. Like, dude, it's only its 5th weekend, right? That means it's not even been in theaters for 5 full weeks. So I would hope Sony leaves it in theaters exclusively for another 4 or 5 weeks at least, because it's making money, and it's gonna make almost another 100 million this weekend. We got Labor Day weekend coming up, John. I know there's gonna be some movies coming out. We'll be talking about them in a minute. It doesn't look like there's a lot of big movies coming out Labor Day weekend, so a lot of people could just go see Spider-Man again or the Odyssey. Like there's all these summer movies. So, I mean, not to mention we already talked about Spider-Man alone has helped make August the biggest month of the summer for the first time ever in Hollywood history. Like usually June or July are the biggest months of the summer at the box office, but
I
simply
could
because of
see
the Brand New
it
Day,
getting
got
3 billion
August.
or close.
So, yeah. I mean, if they leave it in theaters exclusively for another 5, maybe even 6 weeks, like Sony, please stay
I thought you
the
were gonna say
course.
5 or
Tom
6
Rothman.
months. I'm like, whoa. I
No,
mean,
no,
I'm
no.
not complaining, but
Well,
whoa.
I have a feeling they'll leave it in theaters until maybe around even like Thanksgiving time, or at least until like Halloween time. Exclusively, meaning like not having already put it on streaming or on digital. I think that's probably another 4 or 5 weeks, and then you will start to see it available on digital to buy and then rent before that. Another few weeks later, you'll probably get it on Blu-ray, physical media, and then it will probably hit streaming some point next year. That's usually how it goes. Hello, M2G. But yeah, I mean, right now there's just no reason to pull it out. Like in its 5th weekend, it's gonna make 85 million worldwide. Dude, there's a lot of movies that haven't made 85 million in their opening weekend this year. A lot of studio pictures would kill to make that kind of money in their opening weekend. That Spider-Man is gonna be doing it in its 5th weekend. So yeah, Sony doesn't have a streaming platform, but what they do have is they have a pay one window deal with Netflix, which means the first time their movies hit streaming, they go to Netflix, and then about, I think it's like 18 months later, they'll go to Disney Plus, which is their pay 2 window deal. So but usually it takes around 4 to 6 months for them to throw anything onto Netflix. So Sony does do a good job of keeping the exclusivity between the different windows of release. So right now, obviously, we're in the first run theatrical window. So yeah, Spider-Man Brand New Day. I mean, the hope is that it gets to 3 billion. John, I guess we'll find out if it actually does it or not, but let's keep on going, because the other biggest movie of the summer is The Odyssey, which if you click through the read more section here, I saw this number today and I was like, we have to talk about it on the show. If you can zoom into this, The Odyssey has now made 1.47 billion. Now by this time tomorrow, that's probably already going to be 1.5 billion. So for the sake of this conversation, let's say it's already got to like 1.5 billion, right? Now it's on track now to make 1.7 billion by the time it's done at the box office, which is already a couple of hundred million more than what they were projecting a few weeks ago. We thought it was going to top out at 1.5. Now they're looking at 1.7. That would be enough if it does get to 1.7 to make The Odyssey the 11th highest grossing film of all time. And currently it sits in 18th. It was in 20th a couple of days ago. Now it's sitting 18th all time. It's already Sir President Christopher Nolan's biggest movie ever. It's beaten all the Dark Knight movie box office records for him. And it's still got obviously a bunch of movies above it, including Spider-Man Brand New Day. Immediately above it, you see literally a whole rash of Disney and a couple of Universal movies in there, and one Paramount picture. But you got right above where it's currently sitting, you got Avatar Fire and Ash, then you got Top Gun Maverick, Furious 7, the original Avengers from 2012, The Lion King, that's the live action animated Lion King from a few years ago, the first Jurassic World movie, and Inside Out 2. So if The Odyssey can get to 1.7 billion, those are the 7 movies that it would have passed on its way up all the way to getting to number 11. John, I have a question for you. To get from number 11 to number 10, The Odyssey will need to make over 1.87 billion, which is what Zootopia 2 made last year. So do you think that 11 is about as high all time that The Odyssey is going to go, or do you think it can maybe push for another $150 million and maybe get into the top 10, which would be epic, like for an original
I think
film?
that would be great, but I don't think it's gonna get there. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna get into the top 10, but
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it could climb a little bit more. Because I think even the Odyssey is kind of depleting at this point. I think Spider-Man is still gonna go strong, but the Odyssey is still gonna,
Yeah, agree.
it's not gonna quite get there. But I mean, not like it needs to. It proved its point. It proved the haters wrong. It proved that Nolan still has it. So like, I don't think.
I think it more than proves that Nolan still has it. I think this is like Nolan at the peak of his powers, and we thought it was at the peak of his powers 10 years ago, and I feel like he's now only hitting that prime from Oppenheimer to now the Odyssey. I'm like, at this point, it's not just making great movies that everybody loves and that wins Oscars. It's making movies that make a shit ton of money. Like, there's very few directors that have made movies that are original films, not adaptations, not sequels, prequels, spin-offs, that make this kind of money. Like, in the top 10, there's only 2 other movies that are original films that made, anywhere near, well, not anywhere near, obviously more money, but like, over $1 billion, $2 billion, which is obviously Avatar at number 1 and Titanic at number 5. Both of them are James Cameron movies. So now Christopher Nolan could potentially end up in the top 10. I mean, again, even getting to 11, there's no way anybody thought The Odyssey would become potentially the 11th highest grossing movie of all time. Nobody thought it was gonna, dude, it's getting close to $2 billion. Like, that is wild. It's getting close to Spider-Man No Way Home numbers. That is, yeah. I mean, they gave him $250 million for this movie. I have a feeling at this point, if there was ever a good place to use this reference, John, I am definitely sure from this point forward, from Universal's side, Christopher Nolan's getting Kate Blanchett with the budget. And there's just no doubt about it. Not like, if there was any doubt, like, you give the man as much money as he needs, because he's gonna make the the best and the highest grossing movie for Universal. I think, is there another movie that's, yeah, it would become the highest grossing movie for Universal Pictures ever. They don't have anything in the top 10. Their highest grossing movie ever is Jurassic World, and it's gonna pass Jurassic World on the way to 1.7 billion. So I mean, what an investment.
Nothing on Nolan.
What an investment, because Warner Brothers could have had, I mean, Warner Brothers got nothing. The highest grossing movie in the history of Warner Brothers is Barbie, and Nolan has he recently passed by Barbie, which made 1.45 billion.
Buy Barbie.
They could have had, buy Barbie, and they could have had Nolan's 1.7 or more grossing Odyssey, and they screwed the pooch so hard anyway. But good for Universal. So now let's move on to talking about some horror movies, John.
Sure.
So I'll let you take the lead on this.
But,
we go from the 2 biggest movies of the year to 2 that are, well, one of them is playing right now. One of them is on the way. Insidious. Out of the further.
So Sony almost canceled production of 2026's biggest August release, Insidious Out of the Further. Lin Shaye wrote a letter pleading with Sony to save it. They listened to her, and it is now the biggest global debut for August 2026 with $60 million.
Should they have listened to her? I mean, it's going to make money, though.
I mean, yeah, I guess, but like,
it's
like on a technicality. It's such like a fucking like small technicality, because literally, if fucking if the calendar was a little bit different, it would have been Spider-Man. But like, it literally by a fucking day,
few days
on July 31st. No, Spider-Man doesn't quite get there, but yeah.
Aquaman is DC's biggest movie, not Warner Brothers' biggest movie. We're talking Warner Brothers, the studio. You're right, but also we weren't mentioning that anyway. Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing: $60 million opening weekend again is nothing to scoff at. That's the global number, so that includes domestic and international numbers. I will say though, I mean, it's really impressive for a horror movie. Like, is the best way I can describe it. It's not like it's gonna blow the doors off the box office, but here's the thing: whether you like Insidious as a franchise or you don't, I mean, I will give them credit where credit is due. This is a bit of a soft reboot. They're trying to not reinvent the wheel, but they are trying to soft reboot this franchise, kind of start anew, do something different, and yeah, they're getting rewarded for their efforts. So I can appreciate that. Look, people are saying hello to you, Georgie. You want to look at the camera? You want to say hi? You want to say hi? Look up here. Look up here. Yeah, cats don't really listen to you the same way as dogs do, right? Yeah, she's like my shadow. But speaking of shadows, let's talk about another movie that is set to come out soon. Zach Krieger's Resident Evil tickets have gone on sale. I will be going on sale next week, I should say. So it's got a 51% awareness and a superb 52% interest on Greenlight Analytics. Now, Greenlight Analytics are one of the premier Hollywood firms that track a lot of these numbers. And basically, if you're a Hollywood studio, you want to know how many people actually care about my movie? Like, is the marketing campaign doing its job? And the awareness number obviously tells you like people are just, they know this movie exists. And then the interest number tells you they're going to want to go see it. And the fact that it's got 51% awareness and 52% interest level, those are good numbers. Those are, I would even say, great numbers. And that means, as per global box office here, that the movie the new Resident Evil movie from Zach Krieger, it's tracking to be the biggest domestic debut in Krieger's career. I mean, which again, not a high bar, but still impressive nonetheless. And then, of course, it's also going to make it potentially the biggest box office debut at the domestic box office debut for any movie in the Resident Evil film franchise. Because guys, like, Resident Evil movies don't usually make a ton of money. Like, despite the fact that it made so many of them, they were never like, huge hits. Monique saying dogs have owners, cats have staff. I know. I mean, like, you guys remember Zelda would be like sitting here licking me in the face, wanting me to like pet her with both hands. Like, it's Georgie just comes and parks herself in front of me and she's like, give me some cuddles, but then I'll do what I want to do. That's how cats are. Resident Evil actually comes out. Let me give you the exact date. That's a good question, Jalen. This Resident Evil movie comes, I want to say it's in the fall months. It's September 18th, 2026. So yeah, it's about 3 weeks away. I think that makes it 3 weeks away. So yeah, September 18th, 2026, Resident Evil, Zach Krieger. I think it's going to be a fun film.
Finally, some good food.
And John, I've been just talking about how the awareness numbers and the interest numbers are pretty good. 51% for awareness, 52% for interest. Those are solid, early tracking numbers. Again, they don't have an exact tracking information. I think Box Office Theory did put up some long range tracking, but I didn't really get a chance to go through those numbers, so maybe we'll do that next time. But the point is, this could become the biggest opening weekend domestic for Zach Krieger in his career, as well as the biggest domestic opening weekend for any Resident Evil movie ever, John. Like, how impressed are you? Jalen is saying it might even be a 90 million opening, which I think that does sound like something. Yeah, I think I read the headline from Box Office Theory, and that is the number that I saw there. So, hey George, how you doing, man? Thank you for lurking and watching.
Caleb, George is in the chat. There you go.
There you go. But John, your thoughts on this? I mean, Resident Evil. I mean, that's a pretty good start.
That's awesome.
That's franchise best. Are you going to be going to see it opening weekend?
Oh, fuck yeah, I am. Need a good horror movie to follow Obsession.
I like how you're embracing the metaphor of good food, because you're having good food. Talking about good food.
I'm having some cheese sticks because that's all I could find quickly. So.
Cool. Hey, you know what? That's a pretty good snack.
I do love cheese.
So do a lot of people. I think Georgie loves cheese too. Whenever I have cheese, she's like, I want some too. So you're not the only one. I'm sure everybody in the chat can appreciate, unless you're lactose intolerant, which But hey, speaking of lactose intolerant, and a better segue, Avengers Doomsday is what we will have to talk about next. John, did you see this? We will get to the photo in a second, but remember, like, from the first trailer to the second trailer to obviously the comic book lore, and then what Tena Huerta was talking about when he was talking about his role and how Namor sort of, I don't know, interacts with Sue Storm in the movie. Now apparently there was an image going around. It's kind of hard to tell if it's real or not. It looks like it was maybe from one of the sets where they shot the movie, where Namor apparently is, I think they're on wires in the shot itself, and it looks like he's holding Sue Storm. It's like a weird thing, and then if you go to the comments on this post, I was like, this is hilarious. Like, it's just, let the home wrecking has begun. Hey Nelson, how you doing? But we do have the photo. If you want to scroll down, Namor's gonna rizz up Sue like in the comic. I don't really know if they're gonna go that far. This is literally
the most unromantic shit I've ever seen in my life. Y'all
I know, you know what I mean?
Calm down, bro.
Yeah.
Like, first off, she's
Namor, Reed, and Doom.
So she's technically the dominant one in the situation. And second, it's like a mom holding her child. Like, it's not romantic in the slightest. Like, his arms are on his hands are on her like shoulder blades. Her arms are around his arms. Man. It's like not sensual. It's not sexual at all. People need to fucking calm down, bro. Like,
No, I find it funny more than anything else. I mean, it's also
oh
really
yeah, it's
low
hilarious
resolution
because it just
photo,
like
but
I'm just so
yeah.
sick. Like this isn't even being like, oh, it's just like I'm so sick of the fucking memes because it just it's a point of annoyance where it's like a stupid meme somebody made is now gonna like bleed into continuity when it's like this was never the fucking case. Like it was like a joke like
I know.
back then,
Yeah.
and it's just and now it's like, oh, now it's a thing. It's like, bro, come on. I said this before. Mr. Fantastic can change the shape of his dick. Fucking Sue Storm ain't leaving that. Like, come on now. Get the fuck
Well,
out of
dude,
here.
they also have like a kid together, and they seem to
They
be
have a
happily
kid. It's just like,
married
what
and
does
all
Namor
that.
have?
Like,
A fucking shitty
yeah.
Speedo and a fucking gross face. Get out of here. Come on.
Okay,
What do
come
you
on.
think
Let's
this
be
is?
honest. I think he's a pretty good looking dude, but I mean, the other controversy aside, my enemies call me Namor, but you, Susan, can call me Mi Amor. Anyway, okay. Thank you for that, Justin Giga. We appreciate the laughs. They're definitely playing into it. I don't know if this is actually from the movie or this is just a troll. I can easily see, Kevin Feige just doing this to troll, because I'm like, clearly this looks like either this doesn't look like AI, it's very low resolution, but it definitely looks like some kind of behind the scenes shot. You can almost see like the wire, you could see the wire that's behind at least Sue, or either that or whatever that is that I can't really tell. The low resolution image, they're definitely either on a platform, they're about to be pulled up into the air, whatever the case is. It's also, ballsy to be shooting on a blue screen with the Fantastic Four costume, but you know what? They usually rotoscope that shit all the way anyway. So the blue screens, they don't actually like use it to pull a key most of the time. Nowadays with these big movies, they've got the budget to just roto their way out of that problem. But anyway, yeah, there you go. There's one other thing though that I wanted to address that is actually, I think, part of our show description notes on YouTube if you read those, and that's, of course, John, we got to talk about how there was a theory going around. I don't know if you have there you go. You had the articles for potentially a leaking. I think there was somebody online who started this rumor, and it just kind of, the game of telephone happened. Hello, Decol, where they've been, reports going around that the post-credit scenes of Avengers Doomsday have been revealed. There's supposedly 2 of them. Now, I'll TLDR this for you guys. And there's been no credible, not even the big scoopers have really corroborated this, but basically what it's all about is they're saying the first post-credit scene is going to show that Loki's actually still alive. He just doesn't have any powers anymore. And the second one is going to show that Wolverine and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man survived the incursion at the beginning of the movie. Which is, again, still not confirmed. That in and of itself is not confirmed, but
that seems very like fan-made kind of shit. Like, oh, Spider-Man lived, Wolverine lived. It's like, all right, okay.
But like, here's the thing. I was doing some digging. The folks at comicbookmovie.com did some digging. There is no legitimate source. You go all the way back to where it's coming from. There's nothing from anybody who has any ounce of credibility who's actually reporting on this. So it's most likely not true. In fact, I would say most likely what they're going to do is probably just have one post-credit scene, if anything, like what they did at the end of Spider-Man Brand New Day. And it's probably not going to be that significant. Like, remember, in hindsight, the Infinity War post-credit scene really didn't play a big role. It was, if anything, like it was more of a reference to the Incredibles than it was a reference to anything that mattered in Avengers Endgame. So I wouldn't expect a ton, but if whatever we do get, I highly doubt it's, look, there may be a kernel of truth to those things, that maybe Loki does survive, and maybe Wolverine and Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, do end up in Avengers Secret Wars. There's been rumors that they might be the actual protagonists of that film because they remember what the world that existed before Battle World. But I am just thinking these leaks of the post-credit scenes, they're just not real. So we'll leave that there. But again, if there's any more legitimate reporting on this, if like one of the reliable scoopers talks about it, then we'll bring it back up again and see whether it's actually true or not. So, but yeah, we'll leave the Avengers Doomsday talk there. Let's move on to talking about some other MCU stuff with MCU Daily, John. So walk me through this one. I don't know if you've started season 4 of Reacher, but Agnes Mo is one of the new stars of the show. I don't know if she's like the love interest / big investigator of the season, but she certainly has a big part to play in season 4 of Reacher.
The one who gets to pork big old Alan Richson halfway through the season.
I mean, I'm sure if that's what they're going for, but
That's what
people
happens
have
with
already.
every fucking woman
No,
on any
you're
of
not
these
wrong,
shows.
dude. You're not wrong. That's literally season 1, 2, and 3. It's water is wet.
But hey, at
Ellen
least like
Beach
in
is
this
gonna hook up
first
with the
season, we got to see
chick, so
boobies. I'm like, come on, guys, show me a little bit more. It's on Amazon. You could show shit. Come on now.
I can't argue with that logic, honestly. But anyway, let's keep going because, like, apparently this actress Agnes Mo, who's an Indonesian singer-songwriter, or was now turned into an. I mean, I'm sure she still sings, but like she used to be a singer-songwriter. She is now an actress working in the Reacher show. People want to see her as Psylocke in the MCU, and I think we have a photo, John, if you scroll down, because somebody made some fan art, posted it, and she saw it. And if you click into it, we can take a look because there's more to it than just. I think this is the cropped version, but yeah, Psylocke. And not gonna lie, Agnes Mo, again, Indonesian representation, and she looks the part, and the fan art is great, and I'm sure you can adapt this almost directly, considering Olivia Munn basically looked this like this is the costume with a few alterations in color and stuff that was Olivia Munn's version of Psylocke in Avengers. X-Men Apocalypse.
But yeah,
your thoughts? Would you
no,
like to
looks
see
good.
this?
It's
Yeah.
just Psylocke is a very weird character to adapt because there's a lot of very weird history in regards to this character. Like initially it was the character of Betsy Braddock, and then she became Psylocke, where they did like a whole Sean Connery and You Only Live Twice by like giving her plastic surgery to make her look Asian, so she goes undercover, but then they retconned it that it was possessing this other woman's body, and then they got separated, and then one person kind of became Psylocke, Betsy Braddock became the next Captain Britain. So it's a very like Psylocke is a very complicated character to like get into, so like hopefully they can like maybe if they do adapt this character eventually, that they can maybe try to make it work, because it's definitely a weird character with a lot of weird backstory, and hopefully it can, be a lot better than, because comics, they don't make sense.
Well, as far as fan art goes, this is still pretty good, and I don't know whether she can pull off an English accent or whether that's a requirement, but anyway, yeah, there's that. I mean, I don't even know if Psylocke's gonna be in Avengers. Well,
probably
Avengers
not.
Doomsday is one thing, maybe probably not in the X-Men movie. Maybe they'll introduce the character later on. Even the Fox movies didn't really introduce that character till pretty late in their series. So now talking about Avengers Endgame Encore, I was reading, John, there seems to be a couple of changes people have spotted just from the new trailer for the Avengers Endgame Encore, which for the record, for the most part, half of it is actually just a theater reaction from the original movie's run at the box office, which I'm sure you have seen, the ones that people go crazy and the on your left moment and the whole theater goes wild. I did watch those quite a few times when the movie came out, because again, it's part of, I think what made Avengers Endgame such a cinematic event is like that experience in theaters. Like, and that's the magic of the movies, being able to sit in a room, have 100 strangers around you, or however many you can fit into that theater, and collectively have this experience watching a film where you just, are all up in your emotions in every which way. And you can't really do that at home, no matter how big of a movie. It just usually you're not going to invite 100 strangers to your home to have that experience watching a movie. So, or have the kind of sound system and screen that they have at movie theaters, unless you were, I don't know, Tom Cruise. But even then, I don't think Tom Cruise is inviting a bunch of strangers to watch a movie with him. So the point that I was trying to make, John, in that Avengers Endgame Encore trailer, there's a couple of things that people have noticed. One is that the color seems to be punchier. And people are wondering whether that's an Infinity Vision enhancement. Like, it feels like they maybe either up the color grade, maybe enhance things a few. Like, I'm guessing it's probably because if they're spending a little bit of money mastering it for Infinity Vision screens specifically, and whatever standard metrics they have now for that most of the world doesn't know. Yeah, I mean, they got another chance to redo some of the things, and so in the the spirit of George Lucas, I'm sure they might have like updated the color grade a little bit, because it wasn't the most beautiful looking part of the movie by any even though it had colors, it was pretty grayish brownish, the third act of that movie. The other thing people have noticed, I think we have it in the article, if you go back to the Avengers Doomsday article for a second, there's one line in the movie where Tony Stark, I think in the movie he says, you mess with time, it tends to mess back. And then you hear in this trailer Tony Stark telling Steve Rogers, "You mess with time, time tends to mess back." I don't know if that's just like they shot it with a few different versions. That's probably what it is, and then they used the line that we got
I
in the
feel
movie,
like
and then
I like the
they're
original
changing
line
it.
more because
I
it
do. I
sounds
personally
better.
same. It
Because it's just like
does.
you mess with time, time mess. It's just too repetitive. Time.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't sound right to me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's uh sorry, I just got distracted by just some geeky guy's comment. But anyway, no, I think the original line sounds better. The other thing, remember when we were watching, or we were not, well, I'm sure we were watching, but also we were talking about the Batman, the first one. I remember, I don't know if you were on the show at the time, but when the trailers came out, from the first trailer to the second trailer, you know, the scene where he's interrogating the Riddler and he's sitting there and he's like, "What did you do?" That scene, or like he's literally the few lines that Batman has uh while he lets Riddler do the talking. They had a few different takes of it. They used a different take for the first trailer, then another one for the second trailer, and then if you compare it to what was in the movie itself, was also a different take seemingly. So I'm willing to bet that they're playing with that here a little bit, and I don't know what significance saying it messes back versus time messes back. I don't know what the difference would be. Uh, but I guess we'll find out when the movie comes out. I can't imagine, because like you can't change so much that the movie would start to feel completely different. Like there's probably just very minor alterations, and the reports are they might add a couple of scenes, maybe one scene here or there, and then mostly just another scene at the end. Like there wasn't a post-credit scene for the original movie. They're gonna add one here. I think that's pretty much the confirmed thing that we have. There's a 4-minute runtime difference, so maybe that's all in the end credits scene, or that's maybe in addition to a couple of changes here and there in the rest of the film. So Decol asking, do you think the Deadpool will die in Avengers Secret Wars, and will Thor be by his side? That is the question. Why was Thor crying? Apparently Paul Rudd's Ant-Man knows, but he's not telling us, so we'll have to just wait till the movie comes out. They haven't started filming Secret Wars. Remember we did a story the other day? I don't think John, you were on the show, but there's like this production website that tracks where projects in the UK are in production, like pre-production development and stuff. And it was mentioning, this is like from a week or two ago, that Avengers Secret Wars is in pre-production, but they're in a bit of a hiatus, like a 5-week, I think it was, hiatus. So it looks like they won't start filming till like September, October, which lines up with like around the time that you would expect the Russo brothers to finish post-production on Avengers Doomsday, or even then they might be going back and forth. But they've been saying recently that they've been working with Alan Silvestri on the score, which would make you wonder. Usually the score comes pretty late in the post-production process, and you usually either have picture lock or you're almost there with the picture lock, so that they can actually score the movie, because you score the movie based on like how it's playing out, and if you switch things around, then the score won't line up. So I'm guessing that they're pretty close to finishing things up. So and yeah, and then I think it lines up. The Secret Wars probably starts filming around Halloween time at the latest, I would imagine. So and that's pretty much all we got for MCU Daily, John. So let's move it along to Movie Talk Madness. Why don't you take this one?
Apparently the Dog Stars, the highly anticipated next Sir Ridley Scott film.
No, John.
Jacob
No, it's
Elordi.
not. It's influencer Ridley Scott. Remember,
influencer Ridley Scott.
Yes.
Is tracking to bomb this coming weekend with only $9 to $13 million domestic. It debuted only to 30% on Rotten Tomatoes, the worst score in Ridley Scott's entire career, which is saying a lot because he's done a lot of bad movies recently.
He's done a lot of bad movies. You know, he's an influencer, John. His movies are ahead of their time. Like maybe that's why this movie's gonna bomb. Maybe that's why everybody who reviewed the movie hates it. We have some reviews. You want to go through a couple of the reviews for? Because 30% doesn't sound good. That's like Batman v Superman territory, I think.
Actually, still a little bit more, because that's at 27. Yeah. But hey, who's counting?
Yeah, you're right. Just some you guys are gonna see it in 10 hours. Good luck to you, man.
Well, at this point, it said the Dog Stars was at 39. Obviously,
dropped off. That's quite a bit.
It dropped off, but it's now only above A Good Year, Exodus, Gods and Kings, and on the same level as 1492, Conquest of Paradise.
The only movie of those three I remember was Exodus.
Hannibal, and Kingdom of Heaven, and Robin Hood are higher.
that's wild.
So, Scott said this.
is
It's probably the best movie I've done since The Martian. This guy, Jacob Elordi, who's in it, is going to be a big star. He's a farm lad from Australia, so he and I got on great. It touches the emotional possibilities. Whatever happens, you need people. If the world ends, how do you deal with it? So,
Chuck Rod should be named dog shit.
the
The reviews aren't pretty, man.
So
the reviews aren't pretty. 30% Rotten Tomatoes is not a good sign. I mean, the fact that it's kept on dropping from like 39% earlier when they did all the way to 30%. Hey,
but hey, he's already
on the bright side
to
he's already moved on,
yet another Alien prequel centering on Michael Fassbender's character. So we're not getting an Alien Romulus sequel, but we are getting yet another prequel that nobody gives a flying fuck about except for Ridley Scott. So,
Yeah, nobody asked for another. I don't want another Ridley Scott Alien movie. They should stick to who's the guy that made the last couple Alien films?
Fede Alvarez made the last one. He already ducked out of the sequel.
Oh, he
it's
did?
apparently not happening now. So
wow. Well, that sucks for the franchise. Like for me, Ridley Scott coming back to the Alien franchise is like for you, Michael Bay coming back to Transformers. I'm just like, this franchise needs new blood.
No, it feels more like George Lucas coming back to Star Wars with the prequels. That's what it feels like to me. Where it's
well, let's be honest though, Ridley Scott's worst movie direction is still better than the best day George Lucas ever had directing a movie in his career. Like, like there's a difference there in filmmaking standards. But I mean, hey, influencer Ridley Scott, he's still got enough clout.
I remember there was a quote I saw: for every great Ridley Scott movie, there's 5 bad ones. And it's like, yeah, you're probably not wrong.
Pretty accurate. You just listed off 5 others that were like worse scores on Rotten Tomatoes alone. I mean, yeah, Michael Fassbender is a great actor. That dude has never had a good agent. Like, he just speak about it.
Well, you didn't want to see him as a Harry Hole in The Snowman?
No, I'm just not gonna say anything to that. Anyway,
that's the character's name. I don't know what to tell you, bro.
No,
I mean, I think it's safe to say, in terms of noteworthy names, I think it's safe to say James Bond is a little bit better than Harry Hole. But I believe in like the original text of The Snowman, the guy who does those books, I think it's pronounced differently because it's like Swedish or something. So, but it got transcribed very wrong. Anyway, speaking of Jacob Elordi as well, Callum Turner, Jacob Elordi, and Paul Mescal on James Bond shortlist, but there's a new front runner. Apparently, Jack Barton has emerged. Not Loden, sorry, Dan, has emerged as the front runner for the lead role of Denis Villeneuve's currently untitled Bond 26. However, it's far from a done deal. The studio has scheduled a series of screen tests early next month to make its final selection. In addition to Barton,
I just want to provide some credit here. Page 6 Hollywood did the original report. Tatiana Seagal is just behind a paywall, so we just wanted to use this article instead. She used to work for Variety and Hollywood Reporter, which are technically owned by the same company. But anyway, so Jack Barton is the new frontrunner, according to Tatiana, who's been in Poor Things. I think is the most recognizable thing that I saw from his resume. But also, like you said, Jacob Elordi is still in there. Callum Turner is still in there. Harris Dickinson is still in there potentially. Paul Mescal is still in there. And then yes, Jack Lowden is still in consideration. Well, I actually forgot he was in Dunkirk as well, but obviously Slow Horses. Now, in addition to those guys, how many is that? Is that 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are 5 names. Or no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5. Okay, there's 5 names already there that page 6 is reporting. But then you also have Night Edge Media, which take them for their word or not. But like they're saying that Jack O'Connell from Sinners and 28 Years Later is also in consideration. So I guess that's 6 names, John. That's a 6-name shortlist, and they're gonna start doing screen tests soon. So while if you believe Tatiana, Jack Barton is the front runner right now, you got 6 names in the running for Bond. Do you have a preference between any of those 6 guys? I know I want Jack Lowden.
I don't want Jacob Elordi because I don't think an Australian should be Bond because the last time it happened was not good.
I also don't think Jacob
like Harris
Elordi's
Dickinson
got the
either.
charisma
The bro looks like a fucking like 12-year-old. Like, get out of here with his fucking like Cheeto duster fucking mustache on his fucking upper lip mustache. But
Also, I think Jack Barton is probably not it either. You know, I don't see it. I just don't see it. I don't know. Do you know what Jack Barton looks like? Or are you
yeah,
I don't know if you have
no,
seen
ew,
Poor
gross.
Things.
What the fuck is that face? Get out of here. Like,
I'm
it's
just,
just like,
and it's not
okay,
again not
like
trying
James
to say he's
Bond's supposed to be
ugly,
fucking
but
sexy, hot, prime level, just slab of meat, dude. And they're getting like, I hate to say it because I look like this. They are literally getting like the ugliest men imaginable. Like Harris Dickinson looks like gross. Like, you know, Barton looks like a toe. Like, what are we doing here? Like, Jack Lowden, I don't really know him though. I've never seen him in anything, so I'm trusting
you
your judgment
need to
here. But
start
at least
watching
he's
that
like good
show.
looking. I'll fucking take it. Like, he's good looking. He's a good looking guy. Like, I'll take him. He's not. I don't think he's fucking Bond levels of good looking, but he's better looking than half
I
the
think
other
he
fucking
is.
people.
You got to look at him. Like, he has done work like the early seasons of Slow Horses. He didn't have a beard. Like he doesn't sport the beard and
Yeah.
mustache always. And in Dunkirk too.
But
so,
I will say Paul
yeah.
Mescal is another one who's an attractive dude, so I'll give them that.
Yeah.
But it's just like all these dudes, like, oh, like, yeah, it's James. I get it, James Bond. Literally, I understand. Maybe the vibe is like, oh, we're trying to go like he's like more grounded because he's like supposed to be a spy. He's not supposed to be like hugely pretty kind of dude. But like also don't get like a guy who I am more attractive, and it's just like once you get an actor where I am better looking, that's a problem, bro. Like, and I'm like a 5 on a good day, and I don't have many good days where I'm good looking. So, you know, I'm just saying, guys, can we not have a James Bond that looks uglier than like an obese, fat, balding dude? Like, you know, it's just like it's just like not great,
You went
guys.
real
Come on.
sideways with that. I will say this though.
Let's not
Like
do
I will
that.
say, the point that Monique is making is a good one. Remember when Daniel Craig got cast? Here's the thing, because the one thing, Jack Barton, you could say he's not conventionally handsome, right? Like Daniel Craig, you wouldn't think he's a conventionally handsome, like the way Pierce Brosnan, you would say, oh, that's a handsome looking dude, right? Sean Connery has like a machismo to him, but like, I mean, Roger Moore, I think you would say more conventionally handsome. Timothy Dalton, and you know, when he got the role for Bond. But I mean, dude, like Monique said, the moment that it all changed was when Daniel Craig was spotted shooting the movie coming out of the water in that beach scene, and then in the movie itself, and they put that shit in the trailer. He pops out of that water, and like Monique said, God damn. That's Bond. That's like, forget blonde Bond. That is James Bond. Now, I think that all the actors they've got in that list, they can all pass the look they'll look the part. That's fine. If you could go back to that article for a moment, I just wanted to kind of see their ages, because they did mention that might be a consideration, because Daniel Craig played Bond for like a little over 15 years. If you account from the day he was announced as having taken on the role to Casino Royale coming out, all the way until No Time to Die came out, I think 15 years apart, all 5 movies, but you add another year or 2 for like making Casino Royale. He was Bond for like 17 years for 5 films. Now,
honestly, I understand they want to go really young, but I think they
Yeah.
should go for someone like Loden or Turner, who is in their mid-30s, because they have some miles on them in terms of experience.
I agree.
But they're still young enough that
Yes.
they can be in this franchise for a good decade. So,
like, exactly. And here's the good news, though, if you think about it, right? Because like, I agree with you. I think James Bond, I always say this, James Bond's lore, if they stick to the story that's been told before, that's part of the character's backstory. James Bond has always been a character where he was in the Royal Navy, right? I think that he was in the Royal Navy, then he became a spy. Now, I'm not saying he was in the Royal Navy for decades, but like, it's like his second innings of his career, where like he became a better spy than he was maybe, a sailor. But, you can't start with somebody who looks like a 22-year-old infantryman, right? Like, you got to start with somebody, like you said, who's got a few miles on. He, like MTG is saying, looks like he's lived a hard life, maybe. And so on that level, I think the good news here is they're not going with like 20-year-olds, right? Because Jack Barton is 31, Mescal and Dickinson are both 30. You got Jack Lowden and Caleb Turner are 36 each. They're like the oldest of the group. Jacob Elordi is the only one who's 29, which basically means by the time they start filming anything for the movie, he's already going to be 30, if not 31. So the good news is the rumors of going for somebody who was in their early 20s were bullshit, because if these are the 6 guys, then that means they're going with somebody who's at the very least in their low 30s, if not in their mid 30s. And yeah, I mean, the Fleming books, yeah, exactly. Like the movies, obviously, you got to add a little bit of glamour to it versus what the books described him. But also, like Ian Fleming himself, like, he wasn't exactly like, a fresh chap himself, like when he was writing the books and basing it on his career and whatnot. But yeah, the point I'm trying to make is, John, I think we might be getting a pretty good pick regardless, because the goal here is, according to, Tatiana in that page 6 article, they're going to want whoever comes into this role to be Bond for at least 5 movies. And that likely means 10 to 15 years, because even if you pump out a movie every other year, that's a minimum of 10 years, and more closer to probably going to be 15 years. Like, I think Daniel Craig could have done more than 5 if it wasn't for like having 2 significant injuries across 2 of the movies, which stopped production for months on end. And then I think the No Time to Die, I think, got delayed a little bit by the COVID pandemic, or was it COVID or the strikes? I forget, but there were delays, and then I think Daniel Craig would have liked to do maybe one more. But with Bond, the new Bond for Bond 26, Denis New, I mean, yeah, I think all 6 of those could be good picks, but my personal favorite is still Jack Lowden. So, because he shows like the guy looks a few years older once he's got facial hair. You trim that off, you can start him young. I'm like, it's just, he passes the muster for me. And I would like to point out again, Nina Gold, who's the casting director for the movie, also is the casting director for Slow Horses. So that is definitely a big check in his favor, because the casting director knows him very well, and has already chosen him, picked him for a big role before. So anyway, now we move on from that, and we move on from Movie Talk Madness into the business of Hollywood. I'm not going to take up all you guys' time. I actually want to have a bit of a conversation with John, because I think it's important here. Let's talk about a couple of things. This is the short part. Iowa and Montana have asked the Supreme Court to block the quote-unquote politicized Paramount Warner Brothers antitrust lawsuit that was filed by California and 10 or 11 other states. Now, none of those 12 states are Montana and Iowa. So those 2 states are going straight to the Supreme Court and saying we should block this and just be done with it. This here, I don't think goes very far. I think the trial is going to go ahead. I don't think the Supreme Court is going to take this up in time. So we'll just leave that there. Now, as a result of this article, I did a little more digging, like what's the latest on this merger talk. Hey, Chimera. So I want to go to this next article, and I'm going to pull it up on my end here, John, so we could talk about it here for a second. We've mentioned this a few times before, right? The big there's been a lot of things that have been said about this, a lot of promises that David Ellison has made, but none that are more important and bigger than Paramount promising to make 30 films per year post-merger. But the question becomes, what would that even look like, right? Because we have talked about this. Paramount has been through a few different ownership cycles, a few different sets of leaderships. Warner Brothers is kind of the same. Neither of those studios have gone anywhere close to being consistent enough over the last several years, especially with the pandemic dip and then the strikes, to be able to individually sort of make up the numbers to what would eventually add up to 30 movies total. So I get that Rob Bonta is very skeptical that this 30 movie promise is actually going to work out. Now, the question becomes, how do you even get to that number? Because the theaters, the Cinema United, as well as the Directors Guild, have asked, and Cinemark, Regal, and AMC, the 3 biggest theater chains, have all said that Paramount is willing to commit in writing to making 30 movies for at least the first 3 years post-merger. Now, you might wonder, okay, so what does that look like? The first year post-merger, they've already got plans in place. Now I'll go back to the 20th century and Searchlight stuff later. But like in 2027, Paramount already has 11 movies that are scheduled to release. Those are Paramount films, regardless of whether the merger happens or not. For Warner Brothers, they have 17 to 20. The number is a bit of a range because they have 2 Clockwork movies and then 1 other New Line cinema film that don't technically have release dates yet, but it feels like those will be 2027 movies. So if you add those in, it would be 20 movies for Warner Brothers, which would be the high mark for them in over a decade. But let's just say for the time being, Warner Brothers next year has 17 movies scheduled. Paramount has 11. I think if you look ahead to 2028, that number goes down even further. And so in 2028, I believe Warner Brothers has committed like 11 or something. So the problem becomes like, can they get there with the production? Because Paramount's big franchises right now are Sonic the Hedgehog, A Quiet Place, the scary movie. I think it is that Paramount or is it Scream? That's
Yeah,
Paramount.
I think Scream technically, but I think that's
Yeah.
more of a Spyglass thing. And then I do think Scary Movie now technically is at Paramount,
Okay, got
but
it.
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, now in 2028, now 2027 numbers we're looking at 11 for Paramount currently. Warner Brothers has got 17. Now in 2027. In 2028, Warner Brothers currently has 10 movies scheduled. Paramount's got 7. Now 2029 would be another thing because 2029 is so far away, we don't really have much to go off of. Looking at those numbers, Sean, I don't see how, even if you add the Call of Duty and it turns into a franchise and just to push out a sequel real quick for Paramount and all, I don't know how they're going to get to 30 movies. Like that's a pretty good, like, do you think given these numbers, look at this last 10 years for both studios. Warner Brothers at one point was releasing 18 movies. Then the pandemic dip happens. They did 5 and 6. And then you could see their high point since has been 17. And they're going to only match the 2023 number next year with 17 more. Paramount has gotten nowhere close to even making 15 movies. The closest they got was 13. That was in last year. Or this year, actually, I should say. And even then, I think one of those is a Jackass film, which was not even an original movie. It was like, some scenes tacked onto a bunch of old footage. So the consistency is not there. I'm like, where is the production going to come from? Like, because speaking of precedents, when 20th Century got bought by Disney, these are how the numbers dipped off. Now, 2019 was the last year that 20th Century Fox still owned, the studios, including Searchlight and the main 20th Century studio. They were making 11 and 6, and that was like affected part, a little bit. That was down from 2017 when 20th Century made 14 and Searchlight made 11. Then you see when the Disney merger happened, there was a few years where like almost nothing was going on. The pandemic happened, but then from 2024 to 2026, the numbers have been cut in half. Like 20th Century Studio, Searchlight Pictures have been almost chopped off at the knees and have been making literally half as many movies. Now, that being only one point of comparison, like maybe things will be different here, John, but I guess, do you believe that they can make this quota like of 30 movies a year? And also,
No,
only for
fuck
3
no.
years?
Get
like only for
outta
3
here.
years after the merger? Like they're not even saying, like they're only committing to doing it for 3 years. What about after 3 years? What about 2030? Like, like, are they going to be able to keep up with that? Because like, I wonder if they can. It's going to be hard to make this number. Like, they've got some insiders they're quoting in this article, and other analysts from the various different firms that track Hollywood numbers, and it's like they don't think they'll be able to do it. Now, to the credit of what maybe Paramount's strategy might be, I'll mention this. Maybe they can tap into the indie scene and start like really going to a lot of festivals and like acquiring a lot of movies, because remember, Warner Brothers has that new label Clockwork, and Paramount, after they got bought by Skydance, revived the Republic Pictures label from back in the day. It's decades old and it hasn't been active in a long time. So Paramount's got Republic Pictures and Warner Brothers has Clockwork. Some insiders think they're going to just merge them into one thing rather than keeping them separate. But I think there was a rumor that Paramount is willing to commit up to 30% of their annual slate. So 30% of 30 movies would be 9 films, as being film acquisitions, like going to the indie movies and bringing them in and releasing those. For example, you got, Tango Entertainment, which was a precursor to Republic Pictures. You got Nia DaCosta's Little Woods, was produced by Leah Booman, who was the lead of Tango Pictures. Then you had a few others that she's got a bit of a track record, so she can do that. Clockwork, they've brought in people from A24 Neon who are looking to do some work to like try to bring, again, movies with the smaller budgets that can make money, but you still got to have enough money to market 30 movies and produce 30 movies. That's a lot to ask for. Not to mention, the big movies, John. We talk about Warner Brothers lost Christopher Nolan and pretty much legendary outside of like the stuff that already were signed on to, like the Godzilla franchise, over what they did in 2019 with the pandemic, in 2020. And those are not coming back now. Legendary has a deal with Paramount, so they'll continue to make some movies there, and then obviously you still have Dune and Godzilla with Warner Brothers. But one thing this article mentioned that I think might be a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel is Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdy. It looks like they will stick around, because here's the key paragraph in this article. Paramount insiders said that the studio plans to keep Abdy and DeLuca at Warner Brothers in a merged system alongside other top creative executives at the studio, like New Line Cinema's Richard Brenner and DC Studios' James Gunn and Peter Safran, who have said after meeting with Ellison, we have talked about this before, that he is pretty open to what we're doing with a superhero franchise. So the upside here is, I think Warner Brothers, more so than Paramount, has proven capable of releasing 15 to 20 movies a year. And if they keep Mike DeLuca, Pam Abdy around, and they agree to keep James Gunn, Peter Safran around, and then Richard Brenner over at New Line Cinema, maybe they can, keep pushing out these big movies. Like maybe they can bring back Ryan Coogler to do something like Sinners again. They've already greenlit a second movie with Maggie Gyllenhaal, even though The Bride didn't do very well. But that's Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdy sticking by their talent, like the big key prestige deals. Denis Villeneuve, we don't know if he's coming back after Dune, but maybe he will come back, considering like Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdy have done a lot of work to repair those relationships. And then, there's other filmmakers we've talked about. Bong Joon-ho is making his next movie with Warner Brothers. So do you feel like maybe that will be how they make this work? Because I have a feeling it's not going to end up being 15 Paramount, 15 Warner Brothers movies. It's probably going to end up being like 20 movies coming out of the old Warner Brothers architecture and then 10 from Paramount. Like, do you think that might be the way to go? And then also, I feel like they got to commit to more than just 3 years to guarantee that, right? Like, if you just only guaranteed for 3 years, then I have a feeling that number is going to drop after 2029.
Yeah,
what do you think?
I don't know. It just feels all like it just feels like a politician making empty promises at this point. That it's
Which is
just
why
like, oh
Rob
yeah, we're
Bont doesn't let
totally
him
gonna
get away
have
with it, yeah.
these things, and it's I don't believe you for a second. I don't.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna have 30 things. We're gonna have Abdi and DeLuca, and then like once he gets it, all right, clean house, baby. Because like, why the fuck would you keep all these people? And it's
I
just
agree.
like, so
But I mean, look, I have a feeling they're not going to want to get rid of Mike DeLuca, Pam Abdy because of their reputation. This year, though, things are not going well. Last year, things went really well, but hopefully this year is more of a blip. Considering their track record with MGM before they even got to Warner Brothers, they literally revived that studio from bankruptcy. And to Chimera's point or question, do you think Paramount are counting leasing Warner Brothers IP to other studios that help push projects to theaters? No, I don't think they're gonna lease a lot of their IP when they can make that stuff in house. Like, you're not gonna, I don't know, like have Universal make a Batman movie for you or anything like that. I don't think that's the point. I think the point of this acquisition is so they can make all that stuff in house, like all under one umbrella. So, but yeah, you can maybe make up that number by of 30 movies a year by doing enough indie acquisitions and then try to make more franchise films. I have a feeling one thing they might end up doing, John, is they might bring Harry Potter back to the big screen. That's why I'm not saying they're going to kill the TV show, but I have a feeling they're going to like do more Harry Potter movies. And then obviously they already have plans for Lord of the Rings movies, multiple Lord of the Rings movies. They will probably want to do more than 2 DC movies a year. I feel like there'll be more pressure for Peter Safran and James Gunn to push out at least 3 or 4 a year. You could do that, but like, again, this is where I think on the upside, if Clayface works, that gives them an option to be like, we can spend $40-50 million and make a superhero movie that can make a few $100 million and do it reliably. So if they can unlock that, then maybe, yeah. But other than that, I mean, 30 movies a year for just 3 years is not enough of a guarantee. Not to mention, like I showed you guys the charts, the consistency is not there between Paramount and Warner Brothers. Neither of these studios have been able to consistently put out, successful movies. Even if they make the quota, are they going to be making money? Because if for example, like this year, Warner Brothers and Paramount both all together have made less than 800 million at the box office. Each of the studios have made less than 400 million at the box office. All their movies combined at the domestic box office. That's terrible. That's less money than Spider-Man and the Odyssey have made. Less than half for each of them. And so they're having a really bad year. Like, the question becomes, what happens if they push out 30 movies in a year and they mostly bomb, like what's been happening this year for those two studios separately? Will they continue to do that for the year after while having to pay and service $100 billion in debt? And that's really the question. So look, they're going to need to get consistent. They're going to need to lean heavily on IP. And I feel like that 30% number, like you're having 30% of your movie slate be acquisitions from the indie film market, they would really need to commit to that, because that would be one way for them to make things, like, put things out on the cheap and have smaller marketing campaigns and yet be able to like put out a movie in theaters that will help add up to the 30 films. But I would also want to have, if I was Rob Bonta in this situation, I would want him to commit to more than just 3 years of doing 30 movies. Like, you got to make a commitment for at least 10 years, because 3 years is not enough time. Next year, Warner Brothers has 17 to 20 and Paramount has 11 movies. 2028, Warner Brothers has 10 and Paramount has 7. Now, they don't really have anything dated for 2029 yet because it's so far out, and also some of those plans are currently on hold because of the merger, so we'll see if any of that works out or not. But anyway, we'll keep looking into this, because I still find it hard to believe that they can actually make 30 movies a year, make 30 good movies a year, because it's kind of a catch-22. You can't make 30 bad movies. It doesn't matter about
good or bad, it's 30 profitable movies a year.
Exactly. Like, if you can't make 30 financially successful movies, then that's gonna, like, for a company that's already gonna be struggling for credit, you won't be able to keep that up. Like, and I'm sure even with the Ellisons' personal family wealth, there will come a point where they can't just keep throwing money at the problem and hope that it solves itself. So you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself. Like, for comparison, John, just one quick sidebar. Universal Pictures has been putting out the most amount of movies every year for a little while. They've been pretty consistent too. I think they put 20 last year, the 20 the year before that, and they've got 24 movies this year. That includes animated movies, like Super Mario Galaxy, the Minions movies, Despicable Me, Focus Features, everything they put out, as well as Universal proper. So they've already got $3 billion movies this year, like the Odyssey. Universal is the biggest studio in terms of releasing. Then you got Disney, so 2024 movies, but that's still at least 6 to 10 movies more than what Paramount is promising. So that's a hard number to make. And Universal and Disney, you could say they've had mixed results with their slates. So it's a lot. And that's why I think Rob Bonta is very, very, skeptical that they can actually make this happen. Even if you put it in writing, I think 3 years is not enough time. So, yeah. Like I said, more Harry Potter movies, Chimera, would definitely be something they could do and probably will do. But it's, again, you can't, run the IP dry, because then it's dead for a while. So, yeah. Paramount, we'll make it a movie. You got an idea, we'll make it into a movie. I mean, they might need that attitude. They might need that. It's because, John, when it comes down to cashing checks that they're writing, that time will come soon enough. But anyway, we'll move on to the quick hits. I'm done talking about business stuff. Let's do the quick hits, Sean. Let's move on and let's get to DCU Daily as fast as we can.
Yep. So, Megan Ellison's Annapurna lays off 30 employees. Not the Ellison I thought that would be laying off employees, but,
yeah,
here we are.
A few years ago on the pod, we were talking about how Megan Ellison took over Annapurna, or like revived it. She is related. She's David Ellison's sister. But yeah, I mean, 30.
She made that horrible mixtape game, and everyone's like, "Oh, the indie vibe." It's like it was made by a major company. Shut the fuck up.
Hey, Patrick.
But yeah,
never a good thing that when people lose their jobs. But yeah, when was the last time Warner Brothers had an animated movie that played in theaters? Did they release? Because I mean, Ketchup released the last couple for them.
Well, I know Cat in the Hat is coming out this year. And that's
that's holiday season. So, Dr. Seuss, was that then? That was Illumination. Anyway.
Apparently there are rumors that they're gonna greenlight Darth Vader movies with Hayden Christensen.
This comes from like a Star Wars fan channel on YouTube. I found no other source for this, so I don't know how believable that is. But the rumor is that Hayden Christensen is about to sign a multi-picture deal with Lucasfilm to come back and do some Darth Vader movies that might lean into some more of the Legends lore. I don't know if this is true or not, or whether it would be true. I wouldn't mind it, because like it kind of would be redemption for Hayden Christensen. He's open to doing more stuff, but it's a pretty big gamble. Like, you would really need to make sure you know what you're doing. But I mean, maybe Dave Filoni does. So yeah,
We'll see.
I don't know. We'll see. Yeah.
Andrew Garfield's The Uprising confuses fans after reveal as Robin Hood origin story. Just 2 weeks before its release, Focus Features is now marketing Paul Greengrass's film set during the 1381 English Peasants' Revolt with the tagline, The Rise of Robin Hood.
Yeah, remember we talked about this trailer a while ago,
Yeah.
and I saw the
No, it
trailer.
looks
It looked good. But like, what? It's a Robin Hood prequel? Like, that is interesting. Because I mean, it's based on real life events, where I told you, like, in the real world, it didn't end very well for the people who revolted. Although I'm sure this movie fictionalizes some of that stuff. But wow, this is interesting. I'm trying to think of like another example of this where they started doing it, because I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna help it with the box office. Like, what's the motivation? Like, it's
What
weird.
is your motivation?
I mean, Paul Greengrass though, so
I have no fucking
he made
clue.
Bourne movies. I don't know.
But
you're
yeah, I mean,
playing
I'm
the
still
long
excited
game.
for the movie. It's just,
It
that's
does
so
change
weird.
how you look at it though, if it's a prequel to Robin Hood, you know, the rise
Yeah.
of Robin Hood. Yeah. Anyway,
I don't
Andrew
know.
Garfield,
Fucking
as
mad
Robin
weird.
Hood? Sure.
But next up, Gary Oldman on the pleasure of playing Slow Horse's spy Jackson Lamb, a man who has single-handedly lowered the
Yes.
public's expectation of personal hygiene.
He's known for flatulence in the show. I think you'll enjoy the show, John. He's known for like not taking showers and just being an filthiest dude with socks with holes. He's just,
I mean,
it's part of his
like
character's
this
charm.
scene has like he has a fucking giant stain on his tie, and
Yep.
yep.
It's very, and you know what? It's just Gary Oldman. I love Gary Oldman. He's just literally, you know, do nothing and win. That's Gary Oldman.
Well,
Although
they're
he
not
does
changing the
act in
title.
show.
It's just the idea of what the film is. Yeah.
Yeah, like
So,
it recontextualizes the events.
Rachel Zegler is Marissa Tomei's long-lost daughter in the first look at comedy drama She Gets It From Me. Cool, I guess.
It's a great show,
I mean,
kinda.
I like the both of them, so.
Dude, Rachel Zegler, Marissa Tomei. I think, is this Rachel Zegler's like first role since she was on Broadway or West End? Like, she went to, after Snow White
maybe?
debacle.
I don't know.
She was doing Evita for a while, which I think was in West End and is coming to Broadway. But yeah, I mean, hey, look, Rachel Zegler needs a bit of a career renaissance on the film side because of that whole Snow White stink. And Marissa Tomei is as good of a co-star as any. I saw the first look for this. Looks fun. Looks fun. Rachel Zegler,
You
by
know
the
it
way,
doesn't
could
look
be in the
fun?
DCU.
Wonka's The Golden Ticket, because the competition show recreates the Chocolate Factory, and the annoying part is that it's recreating Gene Wilder with AI, which is not great.
That's what Fiona told me too. I was like, yep. I don't even know if they got permission, but that Oompa Loompa looks fugly. And
He
when have you
looks,
heard about
he looks
this?
like, you know what? Honestly, with this light, he kind of looks like Sinestro in Lanterns a little bit. Like
that
same.
character poster version. You know, that kid, not the one in the show, the character poster, definitely, yes. I will say this, remember when we talked about when they announced this thing? I was like, oh my god, I hope this dies in development, but obviously, reality shows will never die, so... remember, they're still working on a
hopefully
Monopoly
it just boycotts and then it
show.
just goes the way of most Netflix programming, and
so.
it just dies and nobody cares
I hope
about it.
so. Yeah.
Speaking of dying and nobody cares about it, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Rupert Grint is apparently going to reprise his Ron Weasley role in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. If I had a nickel for every old Harry Potter actor whose careers are in the fucking gutter right now and they need something to work, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
You're talking about Tom. Why am I forgetting his
Tom
name?
Felton.
Tom Felton.
I mean,
he said he's
offense
almost
to
done.
like either of them. Both are
being
very
on
good
that.
actors. It's just clear
Yeah.
that they have literally nothing going on. Not like they need the money, but like clearly they
They'll be
want
cashing
to work
those
and...
royalty checks forever. But yeah, I mean, Tom Felton said he won't be doing the Cursed Child for too much longer. But I mean, hey, Rupert Grint, Expecto Petroleum, I will take it. I'm sure he
Did
will.
you say
take it.
Expecto Petroleum?
Yeah, you haven't seen the clip. There's like for a long. It was a while. It was a few years ago where there's like some dude like saw Rupert Grint pumping gas, and he like starts shooting a video, and then he like raises the thing in the air. He's like Expecto.
I'm sorry,
Petroleum.
it's 1 in the morning, guys. I'm like
Anyway.
kind of not all there. Speaking not all there, good decisions are not all there. Meta agrees to set time limits for kids using Instagram, Facebook in major legal settlement. Hey, how about you have parents actually be parents instead of the government parenting your kids?
I think this is good. The parents need to obviously take responsibility for their kids' social media exposure and use, but I think this is also important, like having that mean more built in and enforced. They did say, like, look, since we're doing it, TikTok and YouTube should do it too, which is fair. But at the end of the day, I think, like, I was looking at a video or watching a video earlier today, like kids' test scores, not just test scores, but just their general, like, for kids that have grown up with, you know, laptops in classrooms and iPads at home, they don't have some basic reading comprehension skills, and it's sad. It's angry. It's like you watch back an interview with a kid from the 60s and they talk more eloquently than adults from today, and a lot of it has to do with social media and being exposed to that so early. I think this is a very small step and it's coming a little late, but if this leads to more, I mean, I don't necessarily think regulation is an answer to everything, but certainly that's part of the solution. So the education system itself needs to change.
I don't know, it just feels weird that like the companies have to do something about it instead of like parents being parents. It's like no, but I think the education system is very much broken. Like it's like standardized testing and everything. We have known that doesn't work for decades, and this is, I mean, and this just, the social media thing just piles on top of it. And I look, for too long in America, corporations have put responsibility and accountability on the consumers rather than them making changes, because it's like the whole thing about, why don't you just stop making plastic bottle containers or things for your sodas and whatnot? Just make them in glass bottles. Why is it our responsibility to recycle it for you? You are the ones who care. Anyway, this is a quick hit, but this is a good step in the right direction for social media use for kids. And then somebody did this wonderful fan art in honor of the passing of Tim Curry. We got Rocky Horror, and our boy Rocky is dressed up like a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania.
Hell yeah!
So,
and you know what? It's timely. Liz sent this in, and this on the day when we were talking about Tim Curry passing away, this is a perfect timely crossover. So yes. But that's Rocky Horror. I'm sure there's way more of those crossovers that exist on the internet we haven't talked about on the show.
Yeah, probably goes into the more Rule 34 aspects, but let's not get into that.
Nope.
But thanks for watching the news portion. Let's get blessed, because God knows DC really needs a fucking blessing right now.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see
right there.
Hey, buddy, eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts.
Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you, really, I'm doing sublime. I never wait in the stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you want to shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all on the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto. Hunka hunka.
All right, welcome on in to the DCU daily portion of the show. And if you have been watching along this whole time, then, you know, I appreciate you for sticking around. Hit the like button, hit the hype button if you're not watching live, and of course hit subscribe. We're here 5 days a week. Now, we do have a number of things to talk about today. Of course, the big news of the day is Man of Tomorrow. It has just wrapped production, which it was like yesterday we were talking about, like, it might be going on for a little while longer, but who are we to know any better? It turns out Jalen was onto something, and, well, Jalen, you were proven correct. So with that, John, what part of DCU Daily are you excited to talk about today?
I don't know. I'm excited to talk about Man of Tomorrow because I'm intrigued with how how we got to that point, because I think there's something, a couple intriguing things that we didn't know in regards to that James Gunn was talking about in regards to
the
Superman, filming Superman versus filming Man of Tomorrow. So
all right, well, we're gonna kick things off with the quick hits as we usually do. You know, Parrots, Ducks, and Pelicans of DCU news. So let's do that first. Some killer fan art for Lanterns. I'm like, I would buy this
Green Lantern, the actual like Instagram posted this.
This is really cool.
Saying
I mean,
James
so
Gunn
much great
is
detail.
the Manhunter. Ouch. But yeah, The artist is Aurelio
Uh,
Lorenzo. Go follow them if you like this. But yeah,
yeah.
this is looking good.
I mean, if you have some great fan art, looking at you, Caleb, I'm being facetious, but if you make great fan art and you want to like tag Lanterns on social media, the official Green Lantern account might pick it up and feature it. Dude, that looks like they can actually make it a variant cover of a comic like that, or
Yeah.
just give me a print version of that
100%.
because that looks really cool. And they got the town look down there. They got Garrett Dillahunt on a horse. You got Sheriff Kerry Kane. You got the two lanterns. You got Sinestro in there. The prison planet. The alien laser weapon. The suit actually looks really cool. Again, a lot more green than it is in the show.
Yeah.
But
although a buddy of mine who is also not a big fan of the show, but he has a theory that that Carrie is actually the Manhunter and she's not. And she's, on there like, and she's like the secret villain. And I'm like, oh, that could be.
I guess that could work. I don't know how that would work. She has a kid.
Wait,
she
a
has
kid?
A kid
what?
But Sheriff Kerry Kane has a
Well,
son.
yeah, but like, no,
How
it's
would
like
that work?
the Manhunter took her over, like killed the original and took her over. Like that's
okay. That would be too obvious, though. I see where you're going with that, but that would be too obvious.
But yeah, but I'm like, oh, that's an interesting theory. Why? He's like, it'll cause Jon Stewart the most trauma, and I'm like, I feel like they're just trauma dumping on this character at this point. I'm like, all right, fair enough.
Why would it cause him the most trauma? What?
I don't know, because it was a person he was like kind of close to and like worked with, and
Oh, because in the 2026 timeline. But I feel like it sounds like they might have figured out.
And like she killed Hal. Like that's like the thing is like, oh, he thinks she killed Hal. Like, okay, that's an interesting theory.
Okay, because I mean, I was wondering if they had solved whatever mystery Hal Jordan set out to solve in 2016 and 2026. It doesn't seem like they did, because you've seen some in the look ahead trailer, like Jon Stewart with the goatee is still clearly looking for something, and he ends up in prison, and that's when he gets to meet Guy Gardner for the first time. So yeah, we'll get there eventually, hopefully. But anyway, let's keep going. We got one more quick hit.
Yep, we got another quick hit. So James Gunn has talked about, the whole tonal whiplash that a lot of people are claiming, and I'm on James Gunn's side here. I think like people need to calm down about the whole tonal thing. But this person was saying the original comics, like Shade the Changing Man and like the Batman Gothic stuff, but like the silly Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, those are all in the same continuity. But this person is saying, except those comics weren't in the same continuity. And then James Gunn asked, what do you think was not in regular DC continuity at the time of publication? They were separate DC continuities built over decades. Those were textures earned by actual story and societal movement, not whatever it is you think you're doing right now. That's false. Every comic featured was a part of the mainstream DC Comics continuity. I'm imagining you're not a DC Comics reader, but if you choose to become one, we'd love to have you. You can pick any year of comic titles and you can find the same amount of tonal variety across them. And he then said, it's true if you're counting reboots, retcons, collapsed multiverses, and all those other shenanigans as one timeline, then I guess we're just expanding the idea of continuity. And even if we were doing that, those are still things that were built over time, not just foisted out as deep cut fan service. Worlds were actually built, not just presented. Obviously, comics carry a wide array of tones and subgenres across dozens of titles. It's the execution here that requires a much greater care. And please don't engage in condescending ad hominem thrusts about being a DC reader while inviting me in. You presented an argument for your case, and that presentation was flawed. We can just talk about that and stick to that. I'm sorry if you're a DC Comics reader. I don't consider it an attack to think someone isn't. I assumed you weren't as you thought. These comics were not in the same continuity. I also know most readers realize tonal variety is a traditional aspect of DC Comics, not just reboots and retcons, but in new issues varying from title to title. Also common are comics that thrust people into new worlds, cultures, and realities all at once. And then Lee Pace Batman, who is comments a lot on James Gunn stuff. Sometimes the tonal variety is present even within the same comic, run by the same writer, like Tom King going from a cute comedic double date short arc with Batcat and Clois to then spin on 12 Angry Men with Batman a few arcs later. A wonderful example of this is Tom's Strange Adventures.
So James Gunn backing Tom King there. But dude, this other guy was like kind of being mean. I felt like James Gunn was really holding back and being nice and sort of very even keeled in his response.
I mean, I feel like both were kind of being dickholes. Like, assuming someone doesn't read because they have a like flaw in your logic a little bit. I agree with both on certain ideas. Like I more so agree with James Gunn. It's just like I feel like people need to calm down about the tonal variety. It's just like I remember one
It's
person like,
early
"Oh,
goings.
but
Yeah.
Marvel feels like the same tone." I'm like, "Yeah." And people complained about that because it felt like they were getting the same movie over and over again. And the thing is, like, even when you had like a Cold War thriller like Winter Soldier or a coming of age John Hughes teen Spider-Man film,
Right.
they still kind of felt like the same movie. And
No, I
it
I disagree with
depends,
you on
like in
that
terms of
because they
like the
did not
same
feel
kind
like
of
it to me.
Marvel-esque witticisms, quips, tones,
Yeah, but
like
again, but there were like a limited part of the movie. I mean, like on the whole, Captain America: Winter Soldier was a very different film than Spider-Man: Homecoming, as was
yeah.
Captain America: The First Avenger
But it's still
and
like,
Iron Man.
I
It's
prefer
or
slightly what
Guardians
DC is doing, even if
versus
I don't
Doctor Strange.
like the quality of certain
Yeah.
things. But like I can see where this guy is coming from. I can see where James Gunn is coming from. But I feel like James Gunn, you know, James Gunn kind of shitting on the guy being like, "You're not a comic
I
fan,"
don't
is
think
like,
he was. No, I thought he was being
I don't
pretty
know. It's just
gracious with
like,
his
bro, you
words.
have a flop. You have a flop to your name, and people are doubting that you can do this. Yet you have the gall to fucking shit on people that
No,
are
okay.
poking
No,
holes in your universe. It's
yeah,
like,
no,
come on,
but
man.
John, but like what credits does Full Metal Lotus have? Like we talk, okay, so Supergirl is one thing. Like I'm going to defend James Gunn here because I think he was being pretty gracious and like he said look, he wasn't like look, if there's one thing, the tone of voice from Full Metal Lotus was a lot harsher than anything James Gunn said. And then James Gunn was like, "I'm sorry if you were a DC Comics." Like he look, for one thing, I'm gonna say James Gunn getting into the mud this deep that he went like 4 replies deep on something with a fan or a non-fan, whoever, but like this other person is something that you would never see from any other movie studio head in Hollywood. Like they just don't interact on that level. So like take that for what it will, what it is. I personally, if I was in James Gunn's position, wouldn't entertain this conversation as deep as he did. But James Gunn being the fan now, I don't think he was coming across as defensive, but also the whole premise of this conversation is flawed. The idea of like James Gunn co-signing somebody posting a bunch of comic covers and saying, "Look at the variety in DC Comics," and then look at the variety of tones you've already got in the DCU. It's a very surface level metaphor and comparison, and honestly, to that end, I'm like, it works. Like, but don't take it too literally or too seriously. We are also still in year 2 of the DCU with the projects they've released so far. So, and you can't say they haven't released a variety of different things. Like Peacemaker is very different from Superman, which is, even though it has a Peacemaker cameo, and is both of those are very different from what we are getting in Lanterns. I know Supergirl kind of felt very similar to Superman, or tried to be Superman in some ways, which I think was part of the problem, that it was trying to be a James Gunn light film, and that's ultimately I think was the biggest flaw of that movie. But it's too early. It's like if we were in like year 2 of the it's not a fair comparison because 2 different times, 2 different approaches, but year 2 of the MCU had Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk, I believe the first Avengers, so the first Captain America movie, and Thor, if I'm correct. I mean, and those were pretty different from each other too. Like the first Thor movie is very different from the first Captain America movie. It just, I think people are taking it too deep, and I don't know why James Gunn like felt like he needed to have a long conversation with this guy. Like, just don't go down to that level. And I think MTG and I agree that that dude was being a lot ruder, or like coming back and clapping back, saying like, don't talk down to me and stuff and all that. And I'm like, and James was like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm sorry if you are a DC Comics reader, obviously apologize. That's the only time where I think that James Gunn made a presumption that he then walked back. But anyway, I just thought that the fun part of this that I wanted to mention in the quick hits was that at the end, James Gunn was like, oh, the Tom King's Strange Adventures, I think is pretty cool. Like James Gunn obviously loves Tom King's work, and Strange Adventures was gonna be a show, I think, at one point in the previous DCEU iteration that got canceled. I think that was something that Greg Berlanti was working on, and then once Greg Berlanti, left DC, that kind of died. Hey, good fella, Lanterns and Clayface is on my DC mind, yeah, on ours too. Well, yeah, exactly, Jalen. I think James Gunn apologized for making the presumption. Full Metal Lotus kind of came across as a douche who was like, I know better, and you should take the criticism in the face and let me stomp a pie hole in you while I have you in the by the turnbuckle in the corner of the ring and take the beating you deserve, you motherfucker. And James Gunn was like, didn't know I walked into this. I didn't realize we were having a fight. But anyway. So let's move on to talking about the Batman Part 2, because we have more set photos and more set videos. We got a couple of photos, John. Same stuff as yesterday. I mean, I think this is actually from last night, so not a whole lot has changed. But if you go to the video, I wonder where Caleb is, because Caleb would have enjoyed this video, because we got Ricky Stunts. Rick English made an appearance. If you can go full screen into this, it's kind of hard to see the first time around, but if you notice, they were doing the stunt with the car. But yesterday we got a video of this where the Batmobile was spinning on that hinge mount in the middle, and you could see one of the police cars one of the Crown Vics is meant to drive off to the right, and during the spin they mistime it and the Batmobile hits the car. Here they do another take of the same move, and you can see that one car goes off to the side, the bike goes, which I'm guessing the bike is whatever, that's meant to be what the thing that the Batmobile is chasing. But then the police car goes by, and the Batmobile doesn't actually hit it. So it looks like they did it a few times. They mistimed it a couple of times. But the guy inside the car, the guy driving the Batmobile, is indeed our man, Rick English, or as Caleb likes to refer to him as Ricky Stunts. So, yeah. And then it looks like he was in the bat suit as well. I think if you're able to go back to the top of the video when he gets out of the car, he doesn't have the mask on, but Ricky Stunts definitely has the bat suit on, and they kind of have it covered up so that it's like right there. There's a shot. It's covered up a little bit. He's got a bit of a coat thing on it, like a robe, so that he's just not letting the suit hang out in the open air and get dirtied up or whatever. So yeah, I mean, the photos look awesome. Again, it's just it gives it a sense of tangibility that they're shooting this thing, and it's not just going to be a bunch of VFX heavy things. It's like they're real police cars, and it shows the scale. And this might not even be the biggest set piece of the movie. But yeah, you definitely have Rick Stunts in the car, and they put those tires, I believe, in front of the car more as like a safety measure rather than that being in the actual movie. So like, again, they'll probably replace parts of this sequence. Like, obviously that stunt mount that they've got in the center of the road is probably going to get removed in post, and the front of the car is probably going to get CGI'd a little bit, but the rest of it looks real. So yeah, they continue to film this stuff. I don't know how much longer they're going to be in Glasgow. We'll keep an eye out for this. Of course, any other updates, we'll bring that to you guys. Goodfella, the Penguin, by the way, hello. I don't believe we have seen you in the chat before, but if you are usually with us, thank you for joining us. The Penguin is in the movie, but from what Colin Farrell has said, he's only got a few minutes worth of screen time. It's a smaller role than what he had in the first one. Right, John? That hasn't changed, right? Colin Farrell's only in the movie for like a few scenes.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah,
I think he said like 2 scenes or something like that.
Something like that. So he's not going to be in it for as long as he was in the previous movie, which makes you wonder, like, is he coming back for the third one? Like, what's the deal? So anyway, the Batman, that first Batman trailer will hit like crack. The first Batman Part 2 trailer, I can't wait. But yeah, thank you for joining in. I mean, we're here 5 days a week, so hit subscribe if you want to check out more. We are here Monday through Friday and Sundays right now reviewing we review Lanterns right after the episode airs. So but yeah, the Penguin series was great, and we would all like to see a sequel to it, but as of right now, it looks like HBO isn't quite committed to a sequel, so we're still in a holding pattern. But they left it open-ended. So anyway, let's talk about the big news of the day. John, you sent me a bunch of the links. I was already onto it because I saw the notification pop up. And yeah,
I was just like, I didn't see it in the chat, so I'm like,
no, it's all good. I'm not blaming you. I'm like, we might as well have as many looks at it as possible as we usually do on the show. So James Gunn went on social media to announce today that they have officially wrapped production on Man of Tomorrow. We'll talk about the photos specifically in a second, John, but do you want to read off what he had to say? Because his statement was kind of cool and also gives us a little bit of insight into yeah, the movie itself, I think.
Yeah, so he said that's a wrap on principal photography for Man of Tomorrow. Truly a joyful experience, and I have immense gratitude to my cast and crew. The first photo, Nicholas Holt jumped in the lake after last shot. Second photo, the brain trust, except Brian around Video Village during the whole shoot. They make making movies fun.
Yeah, so it looks like it was a relatively low-key day to end the shoot, and it looks like they're like out somewhere in the jungle or something, which I'm sure it's cool, like it's cool water. So like, Nicholas Hoult was like, I'm just gonna go jump in the cool water and take a dip and enjoy myself. And he's obviously still bald, looks like he's also packing
I
some
would hope
muscle
he's still
there.
bald. That would be kind of awkward, I guess.
But John, the movie's done. They're done filming, and we thought it would be going on for a little longer. But I mean,
Yeah,
when
we
did
thought
they
it would like
begin
another
production?
month or two, but
Like we talked about it just yesterday. I feel like was it like was it like
was it
April?
yesterday or 2 days ago? I don't
I
remember
don't know.
exactly.
It might have been 2
but-
days. But like we talked about, like they began production like in late spring, early summer, I want to say. So like I know there's you and they did take breaks, and I hope that this was a blessed production from the beginning. And also we'll talk about the salvation thing in a second. But John, James Gunn did address like the length of the shoot in another reply
Yes.
to that post.
But Lee Pace Batman coming in again, that
Yeah.
was like 90 days of shooting or so. No. Wow, even faster than Superman. If I recall correctly, that was over 100 days due to the scale of Man of Tomorrow. I thought it'd be longer. You're getting faster. He's like, I think 93. I think it's one more than Superman. So I think it's the case of like 5 months wasn't exactly 5 months straight. Because I assume like other people had other projects to do, take breaks, like, and the thing is, it's, maybe weekends, maybe a certain day, maybe there's a travel day where they're not filming. Oh, we're going from this location to this location. Well, we need to take a plane, we need to take a bus, we need to take a car, whatever the hell it is. There's a travel day, there's a break day, there's people that are like, okay, I'm done filming, I gotta head out, and maybe they'll come back for pickup jobs. I don't know. But yeah, so it's not like 5 months straight. But even then, I thought it would, at least the range of it would still be pretty long. But here it definitely felt more condensed than Superman, because Superman went from essentially March to July, the end of July.
Yeah, enterprising.
So and that's about 5-ish months, while this was more like 3 to 4 months.
So
But-
I just looked it up. The movie went into production on April 20th. That's when James Gunn announced day one, April 20th. And yeah, I think you made that exact same reference.
I'm pretty
back
sure
then.
I did.
But April 20th is when they went into production, and now August 26th is when James Gunn announced that the movie is done filming. That counts for 4 months and a few days, 4 months and some change. Now, obviously, April, May, June, July, it's 4 months. Obviously, it looks like, they didn't shoot for every day of those 4 months, because like he said, 93 days, that works out to be about 3 months of actual filming. Now, we know they took a few breaks. They took a bit of a break for James Gunn's birthday week, I think. They were also like not filming on every weekend. So I remember like, there's been like at least 2 instances throughout the production for this film where we have talked about James Gunn. Like, remember, he took the crew to see The Furious, that martial arts movie, and then more recently he took his crew to see another film we were talking about that's not even playing in the US yet, so it was like a special screening he was able to get organized by the filmmaker of the movie. So it adds up. But also, John, that's still pretty quick for a movie, like a big summer blockbuster. We have seen plenty of movies take like 6-7 months to film, or like at least somewhere between 4 to 6 months, and 4 is like usually the floor. So yeah, they finished filming this thing in about 4 months and some change, which also, John, from August 26th to July 9th, I believe, 2027, when the movie comes out, they now have pretty much a good 10 months to work on post-production, which, much like Superman, James Gunn mentioned that he likes to give their post-production team, the VFX artists, as much time as necessary. So 10 months is plenty of time to get the VFX right, do a lot of post-production. They did some pickups for Man of Tomorrow before, so I can easily see that they're probably going to have some time built into their post-production timeline to go and do some pickup shots, maybe even reshoots. But I mean, generally speaking, James Gunn said his philosophy on reshoots is prep, so that way you don't need to do reshoots, because you already had a plan very well thought out, and you stick to that vision, and you get that vision in the can. And now there's a sense of tangibility to the movie because they've shot it, it's done filming, they've got the footage, and now they're gonna go into editing. And like you said, guy in the chat, Jalen, we might be getting a trailer in December, which is what happened with Supergirl and Superman. But
yeah,
there is a theory going around. You guys have already been hinting at this. M2G's already said it a few times. And I think we're both happy, Steven, that the movie's done filming. I think that's the only way you could think about this. But the Lex Luthor photo, John, there's a theory going on. Why don't you walk us through why in this location? Why were they shooting in the middle of a jungle and Lex Luthor is jumping into a pool of, like, I don't know, that looks like a lake or a pond or some kind. Why there? Where could they possibly be? That doesn't look like Metropolis to me.
Nope.
And I don't remember, small.
So a lot of people are like, there were a lot of comments on these things where it's just like, oh, that kind of vaguely looks like Salvation, aka the last where we saw, Chris Smith, aka Peacemaker, after, Ricky Flag Sr. was like, yep, I am getting vengeance for my son. Fuck off, you little shit, and leaves him stuck on Salvation. And apparently, I don't remember if this was said beforehand or not, but Salvation is in a totally different universe. It's not like a random planet in the universe. It's like literally like it's part of the multiverse. It's
another dimension.
It's in another dimension. So it seems like there's isolation. So there is the theory that maybe Lex Luthor is either he himself is going to be stuck on Salvation, they're gonna stick Brainiac on Salvation, or maybe there's gonna be an even bigger, like, honestly, I think it would be really cool, and hence why James said that Millie Alcock's role would be really big after Man of Tomorrow, is that Superman gets stuck on Salvation. And that's where the movie ends, is like Superman is stuck.
Dang.
And Lex Luthor leaves him there, and like after, like, they pull like a thing of like, oh yeah, not like, oh, we're friends now, but like and maybe like there's the whole idea of like Superman beating up Lex Luthor that was actually like possessed Superman, and like Superman did a lot of fucked up shit while he was possessed by Brainiac, and Lex Luthor's like, yeah, I hate you, but you also need to answer for your crimes, and the people agree with it because he did fucked up shit as Brainiac, kind of like the end of Superman the Animated Series when he got possessed by Darkseid and he did a lot of fucked up shit, and then had to like live on, like, and it ends kind of on a cliffhanger of like, how does he win back the public type of shit. So that could definitely be, that's my theory, is the movie is going to end with Superman stuck on Salvation with Chris, maybe some other people, maybe in the intermediary between Peacemaker season 2 and Man of Tomorrow, that other people got thrown onto Salvation, and Superman is going to get stuck there too. And the reason that Millie Alcock's role is going to be quote unquote very important, because I remember James Gunn saying that, like, those, whatever comes after, Man of Tomorrow, Millie Alcock is going to have a big role, is because, well, now she's the Defender of Earth now, because they don't have a Superman right now. So Supergirl needs to like buck up and like be the, Defender of Earth.
That would make a lot of sense. Because like James Gunn talks about Salvation, like you gave us what he said was like almost like a different dimension. It's not just like a planet, but that's wild. That actually makes a lot of sense, because, well, I mean, it is funny that they wrapped before the Batman Part 2, but I mean, are you surprised at this point that Man of Tomorrow is, working at a faster schedule than...
Well, yeah, and it's also coming out in 2027 while Batman Part 2 comes out in 2028, so of course it's gonna...
I mean, they've got more time, which is why they delayed it, because they wanted to give it more time. But to your theory about the, being possessed by Brainiac would make sense, because remember when we were watching the set photos, and this, especially the video, remember the video where
like beating up Lex
he
Luthor
gets thrown out of the bank, and he's like literally pounding down him. Like, that's not a very Superman kind of a thing to do. the guy who's like, oh shucks, I could be such a jerk sometimes, doesn't really.
And the guy who didn't even beat up Lex Luthor at the end of his own movie, he gave him like a talking down to, like, you know, that's the thing about me is like, I put my pants on one leg at a time like everyone else. And like he could have fucking killed him. He could have beat the shit out of him, but he didn't. I mean, there is sort of the aspect of like, well, Lex Luthor's in the war suit now, so like there is more of a balance there. But even then, Superman, I feel like, wouldn't do that. So my big theory is that Superman, this is like, I don't know what the main drive of this is going to be. Like obviously we know it's going to be Lex and Superman versus Brainiac, and James Gunn said the reason it's called Man of Tomorrow is because it's going to be more so about Lex Luthor, because he was.
But he said those are the two core characters. Yeah, like,
he was the original Man of Tomorrow before Superman came in.
The suit is not something Lex might have designed all by himself, at least, because there's the big A. There's like, this is the Argus design.
So my thing is this is it's like we get introduced to Brainiac. However, whatever it's going to be, Superman and I assume Supergirl, who said she's going to be more so on Earth after the events of her own movie, are going to meet Brainiac, and like Brainiac is like gonna possess him, which he has done like beforehand in other continuities. He's gonna possess Superman, and Superman is gonna start wrecking havoc on Earth. So then they're like, Argus is like, okay, we need, or Argus or whoever is gonna be like, okay, we need, the only person that went toe to toe with Superman was Lex Luthor. We need to bring Lex Luthor in. Lex Luthor's like, oh well, I kind of designed this thing. I never got to finish it. Can you help me finish it? Okay, cool. We'll give you this. We'll give you the money. We'll give you this suit. Here you go. Fine. So then they fight, and then once like Superman gets his facilities back, they are forced to team up. They're like, okay, clearly I need help. Fine, I'll fucking help you this once, you fucking goddamned alien. That 100% real dialogue. I read the script. But they team up, truly, and then I assume other heroes like, you know, Jon Stewart, Supergirl, Hawkgirl, maybe Guy Gardner, Blue Beetle, totally Captain Marvel, because that's Kayla's favorite character, so he's definitely going to show up. But I think so. Then eventually all this stuff happens, like the rest of the movie happens, of like they defeat Brainiac, but Lex Luthor's like, Superman, you fucking need to pay for your crimes. And he's like, yeah, you were possessed, but I don't really give a shit because I fucking hate you. So then he gets sent to Salvation. It ends, and we're like, oh fuck, what happens now? So
I could totally see that, dude. Yeah. That makes a whole hell of a lot of sense. Like, I mean, I think that could be exactly that.
So we gotta
figure it out.
DCU Daily number 581. We gotta go. We gotta write that down to go back.
You're good at. You're the one who makes those notes. You should definitely note this down.
So we gotta type that in.
And by the way, if like Lex Luthor then takes the credit publicly that he literally helped save the Earth from like a galactic threat like Brainiac, that could. I'm like, it still doesn't. In the viewer's eyes, redeem him from like he literally murdered a dude in cold blood, like at point blank range, shot
also,
him in the head.
Like, fucking tried to, you know, kill.
I mean, in every literally every other thing that he did in the movie,
like multiple
like a genocide
crimes. So there's that.
But but you know, clearly we live in a world where you don't exactly need to be a saint to run for president. So I think this could potentially lead into at least the makings of a presidential run storyline for Lex Luthor, which we'll see if that
that could definitely
ends up
be
happening
the case.
Or not. Yeah. Minecraft 2 is also coming out that same month. By the way, I didn't realize, I think like there's a Warner Brothers and Paramount movie coming out the same. I think Call of Duty is coming out the same weekend as Dynamic Duo in a couple of years. I didn't realize that, but I don't know, they might move one of them. Although they're two very different movies. But never forget Mall. What? Is that a reference to Inception? Gonna be so peak. Greb, how you doing, Grebel? I see the vision, John, but that would be repeating the ending of Peacemaker. Would it be repeating the ending of Peacemaker? I don't think Superman's gonna get tossed in like Peacemaker did, though. Like he
I think it's just like, or maybe you could even do this. Superman does it voluntarily because he feels bad for being
Yeah,
possessed.
that's what
and
I was thinking is more likely. Like Superman's like, all right, I can't be trusted. Like I'm clearly, or,
I
like,
need,
you know,
I
'cause
need, I can't
he
be
doesn't trust
trusted.
himself,
So
right? He's more just he's like in that
I
case,
need,
it
I
wouldn't be so
need
much
to
that he's
have
in
like
prison there.
penance, and
Yes.
you know,
Hey, Tiny Balls. Like I think that would be more like what would be? He's like self-imposed exile. I think is the
Yeah.
way to maybe go about it. Yeah. Tiny Balls saying, now what if at the end of Lantern, Sinestro also is thrown into salvation? Dude, he's already in a prison. There's no need. Like, why would they take, like, unless he escapes prison, why would you just randomly take him out of one prison to throw him into another prison that the Guardians probably don't have any jurisdiction over? I don't think that something would have to happen. Maybe Sinestro breaks out and does something. Maybe then. I wonder when we see the next movie project greenlight. Well, remember, John, they already talked about, Peter Safran and one of the other producers mentioned when around the time Supergirl was coming out, that they already know the next essentially movie. They said next project, but we want to assume it's probably a movie that comes in after Man of Tomorrow, and they said Millie Alcock's gonna be a big part of it, like you just were talking about.
Yep.
So I have a feeling, considering that they announced like James Gunn announced Man of Tomorrow, I feel like it was months, if that, after Superman released. It was definitely after Peacemaker season 2 finished airing.
Yep.
So if you go off that same timeline, I feel like this time next year, or maybe by Halloween next year, we will probably know what the next project and movie is going to be.
If
after
like,
Man of
you
Tomorrow.
know, whatever happens with fucking Paramount, who knows?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
whether
I
they
think
get
we'll
to
get the
control
poster
company
with
or
the
not.
first trailer. Yeah, exactly. I think we'll get at this point, I can't wait to see, like you guys were saying, probably gonna have the first teaser trailer and the first poster release and then play in front of Dune Part 3 and Avengers Doomsday, like December 18th. That's as big of an advertisement
I do
as you
think
possibly
that
make. So
the falafel guy. Okay.
oh yes, Molly. Okay, yes. Always sorry. That's my bad. I should have remembered that. But yeah, never
Wow,
forget.
damn. Come on now.
Yeah, sorry for the one guy here who champions that character, you know. Like, anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That's my bad.
but so that's my theory, is like, I don't think we're gonna get a Supergirl sequel, because that would be really fucking stupid.
That's not a good idea. Not right now. I mean, you got to get as far away from that for a little while.
But I do think that we're gonna get something with her. Maybe like maybe like a Justice League thing. I don't think that's gonna be the case without Superman. So plus people that would get a fucking ton of hate. Where Supergirl starts the fucking, you know, Justice League DCU, you know, like all that dog shit. So like, you know.
Look, it could be a Wonder Woman movie and Bane and Deathstroke. I at this point would really love to hear them greenlight officially the DCU Batman movie before Bane and Deathstroke film, because I think a 2029 with Wonder Woman and, you know, DCU Batman would be wonderful. They do need maybe a second live action movie for 2028, because the Batman Part 2 comes out in February, and then Dynamic Duo comes out, I think, in June or September. So if they were to add like a second live action and the movie for DC, and the first DCU live action movie of that year, because like the Batman is not part of the DCU, that could be a Wonder Woman movie. Like they could, I wouldn't be surprised if 2028, like in the latter half of 2028, they release a Wonder Woman film. But it's too early to tell right now. Supergirl showing up in there could be possible, I suppose, because that would be a good way to kind of rebuild her.
So. I mean,
I think they need to build an audience for Supergirl, you know.
Like, because the thing is, like, if my theory is true, here you have, you know, Supergirl, like, having all the trauma from losing Argo City, her family, and all that. Then you have the entire thing of like, the events of her movie, and she has to kill someone, and you know, she can do it, but like the guilt of killing someone can strain.
I hope they work that into the story, because she's gotta like have regrets about that, because you don't just.
And then on top of the fact, there's the pressure of like maybe becoming the Defender of Earth after like, and Superman's like self-imposed exile. So like, there's gonna be a lot of rage there. So I could definitely see them doing like, kind of like a Lantern-esque kind of story with her becoming a Red Lantern. I could see that, especially if it is true that Anton guy in Lanterns is Atrocitus. Which would be kind of lame, because he looks kind of like a bitch, but like, you know, what are you gonna do?
What?
He's like this
Did you
boring
just make
bald
fun of
guy.
Paul
Like, give me
Victor?
like
Come on.
fucking Nathan Jones as Atrocitus. Like, come on, man.
Okay, but like you haven't seen like what it can turn it anyway. But let's not go there because I feel like now that's a whole another bag of worms. But that would be nice if there. I mean, I don't know. I mean, James Gunn would. I wouldn't put it past him to like bring the Red Lanterns in this early. Also, that Lantern show is meant to have a second season, so that will keep on going. I'd imagine the second season would probably take a couple of years. So 2028 would make sense for Lantern season 2 to come out somewhere around the time that whatever other movie they might put out along with Dynamic Duo, which rumors are it might become a DCU movie unto itself. So that's also another thing. As far as the Mr. Terrific show goes,
you're reacting to, but okay.
I think he's talking about your reaction to Anton. Anton, I should say. Anyway, but Hunter Iggy talking about the Mr. Terrific show. Here's the thing: we haven't heard anything official about that, so I don't know how far along they are making it. When the announcement happened, it wasn't really an announcement from DC. It was more just the trade saying the Mr. Terrific show is a go. So I wouldn't expect that to really like come out anytime soon unless we get something official from James Gunn. So, but that could be a 2028 thing as well. Chuck Ross saying we need a wider shot. I bet there are others in that water with Lex. Maybe.
No, because it looks like James Gunn said, "Oh, Nicholas Hoult just wanted to jump in after we were done filming." That's all.
It looks like they were shooting something only with Nicholas Hoult, and it might just be like whatever the maybe like this is why we're thinking is Salvation. They just have some scene with him. But if Superman's on Salvation, then that kind of defeats the theory. This is maybe just somewhere else. Maybe he's just enjoying a break from not being in prison anymore. I don't know. Yeah, but John, everything else suggests that this movie, like we've talked about it many a times, Man of Tomorrow is starting to feel like it was already not, according to James Gunn, a direct sequel to Superman, but it's really starting to feel like the more we hear about like every meta-human available on Earth is gonna be in the movie, that it feels like an Avengers Justice League level film.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on whether that is a good thing, a bad thing? Because to me, my initial reaction is if Man of Tomorrow is the DCU's Avengers, or more aptly DCU's, without it being exactly it, but the closest thing to a Justice League movie, not the best comparison, but almost like what Warner Brothers kind of turned Batman v Superman into, except here we were meant to get cameos from pretty much every Justice Gang member, as well as Jon Stewart, as well as Blue Beetle. That might, to me,
and
my reaction is that is
maybe
and
Amazing
Maxima, maybe
Man,
Wonder Woman,
whoever the fuck Matthew Lillard's playing. Some people,
yeah, or a Wonder Woman, like
he's gonna be playing
like,
Ted Kord. So
that might be exactly what the DCU needs right now, or like in 2027, right? Like, what do you think about the theory that this is starting to look more and more like an Avengers, or like a
I can definitely. I think Greg Fuentes has a point here where it's gonna feel like Civil War, where it's kind of, it's essentially an Avengers movie, but like not really an Avengers movie.
Like Avengers 2.5 is what.
That's essentially what people call it, is Avengers 2.5. So because it pretty much had everybody except Thor and Hulk, and
pretty much, at that point,
so it was essentially pretty much an Avengers movie,
and then you add Spider-Man
like
and Black Panther that made up for that. So
where it's like a Civil War-esque like story, where it's not a Justice League movie, but it's like kind of an intermediary between like a Superman quasi sequel and a Justice League movie, like somewhere in between, much like Civil War was. So
I think you guys in the chat, I think you're a good point. It's like a mini Justice League movie, because I think that makes a lot more sense now that James Gunn was very quick to point out that no, this is not Superman 2. It's like a quasi sequel, but it's not really a sequel. It's a movie about Lex Luthor and Superman, but it's not a Superman sequel, which if things play out the way we were anticipating, I mean, I'm starting to wonder how much of those, super powered metahuman characters we're going to get revealed in the teaser trailer, or if they're going to save some of the big reveals for the movie itself. But it's probably a little too early to get into that, because it's August and we probably don't get our first look at this thing in proper until like maybe December or so. But now that they're done filming, I mean, I guess they were not going to film in outdoors in Cleveland at all, or Cincinnati. Like, nope. All their daily.
We're not going to Cincinnati.
We're
not going to Cincinnati.
Yeah, it was all shot in interiors, because remember they did shoot at the same building where they had basically they double as the offices for Daily Planet. But they shot all the stuff only, it seems like, on the interiors. They didn't do any of the exterior stuff like a lot of Superman takes place in Metropolis. So one would probably think a lot of this movie doesn't take place in Metropolis, or it does, but it's different parts of Metropolis that they used Atlanta to double for it because they shot a lot of the bank stuff in Atlanta. But yeah, I mean, the majority of this movie was shot in Atlanta, and I think some on location stuff like what they just showcased here, and then they shot a little bit, I think, in the UK. So Jalen saying, I wonder if you get a shot like Cap versus Tony and Man of Tomorrow. Maybe not exactly that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do some posters with like Lex Luthor versus Superman. It definitely feels like Superman's gonna get mind controlled or some way be possessed by Brainiac at some point, because that stuff we saw with him pounding on Lex Luthor was definitely like evil Superman vibes. Goodfella saying, I like the idea of Superman being a Justice League time movie, but David Cornsweet has earned at least one movie more focused on him, show some of his badass side. Well, that's the thing. I have a feeling that if Man of Tomorrow does really well, the next movie probably is Superman, or it's like a Superman family movie where like Supergirl is more directly involved in the story. And yeah, we'll see where they go from there. I mean, hopefully by then we get a DCU Batman, so maybe they can do a World's Finest. Yeah, all right. That would be badass. Punching out Lex Luthor. We already know he does it in the movie. Just we don't know how much damage the suit can take. So, all right. Well, we'll keep our eyes out and for any more updates. But that's it for DCU Daily. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for tuning in, staying the distance. I mean, we're 2.5 hours in as we usually are. Harold saying, I'm still hoping we see Hawkgirl getting arrested, sent to Salvation in Man of Tomorrow for killing that president. That is a good point, because she did kill a head of state, just for the sake of seeing the consequences. I mean, yeah, we'll find out. Maybe, like you said, maybe like Amazing Man's in the movie. Maybe that Sinqua Walls is playing some version of Hawkman.
I know, the Martian Manhunter was considered.
That's another one.
Andre Royo or whatever the hell his name
Andre
is.
Royo, yeah. Andre Royo, yep. Lex Luthor for president is a possibility. We talked about that earlier, Hunter Iggy, so definitely rewind back. If Lex publicly makes it known that he helped save the world, maybe he can, turn that into a presidential run. So, okay. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow, Thursday, DCU Daily. Remember, we're here 5 days a week and on Sundays as long as Lanterns is on air. So tune in tomorrow. I'll put up the Mount Rushmore Monday poll on the channel if you guys have any more ideas for Mount Rushmore Monday.
Fancast Friday one.
Too. Yes, we do have the Fancast Friday poll up right now. Mystique is winning. And then make sure to go into the comments on this video and tell us your ideas for the Mount Rushmore Monday poll. And then maybe even Tier List Tuesday, because that poll will go up on Friday. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on another episode of DCU Daily. It looks like we might just be getting back to being blessed from the beginning.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see
right there.
Hey, buddy, eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you, really, I'm doing sublime. I never wait in a stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you want to shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all in the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto. Hunka hunka!
Remember, fuck Tom King, David Ellison, and Jeff